So this is Pokemon Black for the Nintendo DS. Give me a second. This game was, I think, released in 2011 or so. So the main Pokemon used for this speedrun is Lillipup, but it wasn't actually like that. Lillipup was, I think, Lillipup like this Lillipup route, which that people are using now, is pretty recent, pretty new. At least it was this year. Buster, the runner here, was actually the one that that started running with Lillipup. But so first he's gonna set his date and time to a very specific. He's gonna like set his DS time to a very specific day, time, and like year. This is just for RNG manipulation. And so the way RNG manipulation works in this game is if you enter the game on a certain second with like a certain date, like date, time, second, year, etc., you'll always get the same results. You will usually get the same results. So as long as you enter the game on the same second, he'll know that he'll get like the same Snivy, which is the starter that we choose. And so the way he'll know that if he hits the correct seed is that he'll look at his dial, and so when like during the intro, he'll go through the intro and you'll notice that there'll be like a dial text box like that spins. In English it says creating save data, but it's Japanese, so it'll be a little different. But depending on the initial locations, like depending on what what direction the dial is facing, it'll be different, like depending on different seeds. And so, if he sees the dial that, like if the dial's like up or whatever, then he'll know he'll hit a seed correctly. And so that's like a verification method that runners do in order to make sure that they hit their seed.
さあまずはチュートリアルです。カナ設定と漢字設定ね。このポケットモンスターシリーズ、このシリーズ。
And so another way that another method that runners usually use to like find their seeds is depending on like what buttons you hold when you start the game, you'll be able to hit different seeds. And so holding like up would let you hit a different seed than if you didn't hold up. And so that dial was down. He didn't reset, so I would imagine that he hit the right seed.
くるくる回ってる時計見て判断できるんですけど、今一番下からスタートしたんで、僕のパターンだとこれは成功パターンですね。基本的に2
So, okay, so you'll notice that he's gonna choose Snivy. Snivy's a grass type, and it's actually really bad. But the main reason we choose it is because it learns Cut. Oshawott also learns Cut, but if you choose Oshawott, the rival fights, the Sharon and Bianca, your two rivals, they have the same they have similar Pokemon, but the natures on their Pokemon are different, which actually makes like loses turns when you use Lillipup. And so despite Oshawott having a one turn faster start, it's actually better to use Snivy. The second reason why we choose Snivy is because we don't want our rivals to have Snivy, because despite superior sucking, it is quite fast, and so giving it a turn in one of the later rival fights would be bad. So there we go, Snivy. I don't know what his Snivy's IVs are. They're not really very important. The biggest one is just having enough attack to guarantee that you kill Sharon's Tepig, which you just need either a plus attack nature with 23 IV or greater, or a 30/31 with a neutral nature on attack. And so it's not too difficult to find one. But so he'll be using this Snivy until Route 2, which is the second route in the game. And at that point, he's going to save and quit and manipulate Lillipup, a level 7 Lillipup that I'll catch.
一応コメント欄もまあ
Okay, so this route didn't like this game used to use Tepig the whole way,
余裕がある
but it never used Escadrille. Escadrille is Black and White 2,
最初女の子に
which both Gen 5 games actually used to use Tepig the whole way,
チェーンと
but I guess people just realized that Tepig is not that good and that Lillipup is better for Black and White 1 and Escadrille is better for Black and White 2.
BGM もいいですからね、まあ、ゆっくり
So I thought pretty neat.
見てもらえばと思います自分が選ばなかった御三家のポケモン
Yeah, heavy animation's the big one for Tepig. When you not Tepig, I guess Embor. When you send out heavy Pokemon in Generation 5, you'll get like I think it's a 1.5 second longer animation.
一応乱数帳
I think it'll
スタージャンのその
like have dust around it because it's so heavy when it hits the battle floor.
割り振られるんで
And so that because of how many trainers you fight in Black and White 1, that ends up making a pretty big difference for Tepig.
まあ必要最低限のステータス
Whereas Stoutland, despite still being quite heavy, it's not as heavy as Emborn, so it doesn't get that animation.
対戦し終わってまあ部屋めちゃくちゃ
And so like just using Stoutland would save time over using Embor, even if they had identical fights
これが
because of the animation.
まあこれは適当にもうメッセージ
So another thing that we can manipulate in this run are encounters.
わからない人の
So ideally here, he'll
完全に
advance RNG in such a way that he'll get no Route 1 encounters.
一種地方っていう世界なんですけど
And so the goal would be to if you like generally if you do the movement, if you do perfect movement, you'll always get the same outcomes. And so if that perfect movement ends up giving you 0 encounters, you'll get 0 encounters. And the reason why you just want to avoid encounters is just because they're slow.
育てていきながら各
And so the less encounters you get, the better. Fewer.
感じです
But there's a lot of cutscenes here. Would Stellan still be faster?
これエンカウント調整してるんで
I don't know.
これもまあ自分でどういう
I think it would be a lot closer. I still think Stoutland would be better. But yeah, I'm not sure.
なるべく一定の方法を
So some types of questions I see a lot of people ask a lot are
やらないんで
like, why don't you manipulate Snivy, but instead of saving before Lillipup, just manipulate up to Lillipup. And unfortunately, that's not really possible because there are different like RNGs at play. And so there's like the standard RNG, which is called the PID RNG or PID RNG, which determines like nature, wild encounters, abilities,
ポケモン図鑑も
um,
本来ね
like what NPCs, spinners, all that stuff. And then that's like the main RNG. But there's also the IV RNG, which, as the name suggests, just determines IVs. And unfortunately, the IV RNG advances
基本的に
it's not always every frame, but it advances in battle basically every single frame in battle, which would make getting the same IV RNG result after each battle impossible,
スタージャを選んで
unless you wanted to do a bunch of like frame perfect inputs exiting battles, which it would be a 60 FPS input. So, and there are 4 battles before. There are 3 battles, 1 catching tutorial before
ここでね
Lillipup, so it's not really feasible.
次の道路で待ってるからみんなで行こうっていう感じでねここから
Um,
冒険が始まるわけ
the other roadblock would be the cross transceiver calls, and so there's like the calls when you like
ひたすらもう
I don't even know what they're called, but it's like it's like a 4-way call that you get.
博士が
You'll see one after this catching tutorial with Juniper, Bianca, and Sharon, and those calls advance the PID RNG once per. So they advances it 4 times per frame, I believe. You can actually manipulate past them, but it would require frame perfect inputs at 30 FPS, which is a lot more doable than 60. But it would still just be a lot of resets because if you missed them, that you'd likely just not be able to get your pop. And so this catching tutorial is mandatory. It's just here for that. You can actually, if you're so like in order to know if you're still on the current pit RNG frame, which pit RNG again it would determine if you get encounters or not, you can look at the genders of the Pokemon. So like depending on um, like if Patrat's male or female or if Mincino's male or female. You can't actually look at HP because HP is based on IV RNG. And so that Mincino's HP value would depend on how the first two rival fights went. So it would be impossible to consistently be able to look at it to tell what if you are on the right IV RNG frame. I forgot to point this out, but every single DS has like so the way RNG is actually seeded is depending on the DS, like every single DS has a different MAC address, which is just like an identification number that's used when connecting to the internet, but that actually is still used when like it's still used to determine like how the DS is hitting seeds, which basically means that every single DS has a different RNG manipulation. Meaning like if you wanted to run this game, you would have to find your own manips. This is Black and White 1.
はい、次の街着きました。まあ、ここにはジムないんですけど、この赤い建物はポケモンセンターですね。ポケモン回復したり、あと、ブラックホワイトからですかね。ポケモンセンターの中にトップができたの。はい、まずはこの上位さんに話しかけて、回復させてみろと言われるんで、まあ、預けて回復させます。全開なんですけどね、こっちのポケモン。
Yeah, this is the third song. It's pretty good.
で、次、これパソコン。これでポケモンを預けたり。
So there are tools available to find your own manips. It's a lot easier than like when I first heard about this, it sounded pretty complicated, but like once you've got the hang of it, it's really easy. It can be really time consuming, but the process itself is pretty easy. You would just the way it is, you want to figure out what seed you hit on your DS, and so you just like you can catch a Pokemon at like a certain second, a certain date, and then check its IVs, and depending on those IVs, the program would just calculate what your DS parameters are. Yeah, that as well. Black and White 2 uses Drillbur, but unfortunately, you can only find Drillbur with dust clouds, and dust clouds are like you catch Drillbur, but finding a Drillbur is a lot more difficult than finding a Lollipop.
この地方バージョンですね。この人たちの目的はなんかポケモンを解放すること？なんか私もよくわかんないんですけど、ポケモンを解放するのだって。結局最終的な狙いはポケモン。
Another thing I'll point out for this game is you'll notice that every single person running this game plays in the winter, and that's because in Twist Mountain, if there's like snow, which means winter only, you'll be able to skip I think 3 optional trainers. It might be 2. It basically just saves a lot of time. So if you were to run this game, you could only run during winter months, which are April, August, and December. Okay, so this is the first end battle. It's the only one used in IV4 because you can actually get a Lollipop before this, but it would be level 4, which is worse than getting a level 7 one. But the strat here is just to Leer and then spam Tackle. Purloin can sometimes go for Growl and sometimes not, and if it goes for Growl, you just lose 1 turn, so it's not that big of a deal. Especially since turns in this game are very, very fast. But that's like the only variance. It's like the only fight with variance in the first couple. In the first like 13 minutes. And it's just 1 turn. この BGM かっこいいですよね。まあこの N っていう人はまだまだこれから出てくるので、まあ、覚えておいてください。さあここからが一勝タイムといったところなんですけれども。Okay, so what I believe Buster does, and basically everyone else, is there's a cross-train Seaver cutscene coming up. He's about to get the running shoes, and then he's gonna catch Lollipop. But instead of saving out here on Route 2, it's actually better to save in the gate. The actual reasons are quite complicated, but basically there are NPCs loaded here, and if you save, depending on when you entered this route, on like what RNG frame, and depending on how fast you open the menu to save, there would be variance. And so, even though it takes more time to go into the gate and save, it means that you'll never have like NPC troubles at all. And so, as you can see here, he ran into the gate in order to just make sure everything's going to work. So he doesn't have to worry about NPCs screwing it up. Because there is an NPC there, but you'll notice that like that NPC doesn't move, so she'll never advance RNG, and so that those types of NPCs are completely fine. It's just the ones that can like spin or move that are bad. All right. I didn't see if he changed the time. I think he's doing the just 13 minutes early Snivy method. Yeah, I think it does. He got like looks like he got timer 0. I guess I didn't mention timer 0. Usually, like when I mentioned earlier that you just need to enter the game on a certain second in order to hit your RNG seed, but there's also timer 0 that it's you can usually manipulate it with auto mode, like entering the game. Basically, timer 0 is like a clock that starts running as soon as you enter the game. Like it turn on your DS, not enter the game, and it's like different seeds will get different timer 0 values, and depending on the timer 0 value, you'll hit a different seed. It's usually fine, but it can sometimes be a real pain. It's a lot worse in black and white too. But the scrolling banner in the gate, I think it advances RNG. I'm pretty sure it advances RNG in the post game because there are swarms and like different messages, but it's just a single message in before you beat the game, and so it would never advance RNG. Oh, and he got the lollipop first ball, which is a 43% chance. That's very good. Missing, like it's a marathon, so it doesn't really matter, but missing ball catches in this game is it's very slow. It's you can lose up to like I think 14 seconds by just missing the catch. Just because the ball throw animation is very slow. Certainly feels like 5%. Because you'll notice he opened the menu there. That is not buffered, which means that depending on how fast you open the menu, RNG could end up at different points. And so this is like another challenge when first finding like after you find the lollipop, you want to swap it, but when you'd want to like manipulate no encounters afterwards. Like you'd want to manipulate no encounters. Like ideally here, you'll manipulate no encounters up until Route 3, manipulate a Pidove, and then manipulate no encounters until Nakreen City. But that's not easy, and there's a chance that just like depending on your seed, it might be very difficult to find windows where there are no encounters on Route 2. Normal type main Pokemon? There's gotta be another game that uses normal. Hold on. Gen 3 is... I think you might be right. Maybe there's something in Gen 7, but... Yeah, I think you're right. It's the first. So you'll notice that his gender, like the gender for his lollipop is female. That does actually end up making a difference. Very late in the run. I guess later in the run. On the flying type gym, there is a Swoobat. There's a Swoobat trainer that knows to attract, and if you're female, it can use it. But it's a very minor difference. And like, you just take whatever lollipop you can find. Yeah, but Farfetch doesn't like use the whole way. And so he bonked in the NPC there, which likely means that he doesn't have Minip up this far, but it's okay. It doesn't save much time. It's not like you can't buy repels. You just save going into the center and buying repels. Okay, so he's saving for this Sharon fight, which is I think is a really good idea. So this fight is really easy, except that this Sharon has the Tepig and it knows Ember, which is 10% to burn. If you get burned, you're just there's like nothing you can do. And so despite burn not even like despite burn only being 10% to be like you only have 10% to get burned, right? And like Tepig isn't even 100% to go for Ember. But if you do get burned, the fight is just so bad that like if you're doing a run, you just reset. But in a marathon, I think it's definitely worth saving. I think that was Tail Whip. Yeah, it's really annoying when doing runs, right? Because it's such a low chance, but when it does happen, it's just run over completely.
そうすると、倒すのに結構な時間かかってしまうので、これ相手優しいですね。何もしてこなかった。ここでやけどになってしまったら、記録狙いだったらリセットですね。よかったよかった。何事もなく。
So I guess I should mention Lillipup's stats. It's an adamant nature with 31s are required. You can use 30 defense, I guess. But 31, 31, 31, except in special attack. Special attack doesn't matter at all. What's important is 31 attack, speed, and HP. Its abilities, you can get 2 abilities and get Vital Spirit, which prevents it from falling asleep in battles, which is not really that useful. And it can get Pickup. Pickup is an interesting ability. It lets at the end of battle, it actually advances RNG to check to see if it can pick up an item if it doesn't already hold an item. So you can get like a bunch of different items via pickup. It's like you can get like a potion after battle. But this is just as a leap up. So I think you can get like a hyper potion too. There's a bunch of different items you can just. There's a low chance to pick up. The best one I think would be like a King's Rock, but I think it would still be slower. Anyway, the reason why we need to use pickup though is because once the leap up evolves into Herdier at level 16, it either gets Intimidate or Sand Rush. And if it gets Intimidate, that is very slow because it'll like show the Intimidate text as well as like the banner every time you go into battle, like every time a new battle starts. And so we can't do that for speedruns because it's slow. So we have to use pickup because it turns into Sand Rush. So that's why we can't use Vital Spirit because it turns into Intimidate after you evolve. And so, yeah, special attack, and there are not many special attackers in Gen 5. You also get like a bunch of attack EVs. I think you get like 172 by the end, or somewhere around there. It's kind of crazy.
手助けを覚えるんですけども、技は4つしか覚えさせられない。手助けは正直こういうストーリーだと全く。
Okay, so he's in the first gym at the moment. One more trainer until the gym leader, Chili. Chili is a pretty easy fight. The way the gym works though is depending on what starter you choose, you'll fight you'll fight a different gym leader here. And so the way he'll try to use a type that's strong against you. So because Buster chose Snivy, you'll fight Chili, which uses a Pansear, a fire type Pokemon. So if you chose Tepig, you would use Cress, which uses Panpour, which is a water type Pokemon. And so it's just a. Oh, he's gonna save. And so he's just going to fight the fire one. It doesn't actually matter at all because Lillipup just destroys them anyway, but just thought I'd point that out. There's no protein in this game. I mean, I think there is, like, you could buy one, but it's not on Route 6. That's Black and White 2 Slayer. Alright, so there are a few different strats for this fight. Most people do get Leer into Bite. You can also triple Bite, which is a slightly faster. Oh, he crit the Lillipup. That's pretty good. That normally does not die. But Bite is just slightly faster because you don't have to see the Leer text. because Leer's you use the move and then there's text. Bite is just the move and damage, which is slightly faster. You can also flinch, which would be good. But there we go. And so so you went for Leer there on the Panseer. It's actually a range. It's a very favorable one, but there's a chance he didn't kill there. Actually, I think the first roll was good, so I think that was guaranteed. It's like a 96% range, so it's very favorable. So it's a pretty solid start. So Silent here gives you workup. Workup is a very good move, especially for Lollipop, because what workup does is it's basically an X attack. It also boosts your attack and boosts your special attack by 1 stage. Special attack is useless in this run, but having like a free X attack at any point is extremely useful, especially since using X item, any X items in Gen 5 is very slow. It's much faster to just use a move, and so that's what we do. And so workup is like I don't know. Lollipop would definitely not be used if no way people would use Lollipop if it didn't get workup. It's just such a good move. And so we also get cut here. Cut is the only mandatory HM in this game, which is kind of crazy. You don't need surf. Fly saves time, but you don't need fly. But since we get cut and since we need to teach workup at some point, we just combine the menu here because it's faster than going into the bag twice. So okay, he's gonna get the Dusk Ball here. This Dusk Ball, it's not required for anything, but it just helps with a Woobat catch. And the reason why we want to get Woobat is just for fly. And so it's a 50% encounter in Wellspring Cave, and throwing a Dusk Ball is like 93% to catch from full. If you just tackle once, then it's a guaranteed catch. And so it's faster to still go for tackle and throw a Pokeball, but this is just so much more consistent. So it's definitely the right call. No, he doesn't. Slayer. You also wouldn't get the Dusk Ball if you got extended. I don't think he has extended. Don't. He bonked on the NPC before. Oh, he saved the game, so he definitely doesn't. Because if saving the game actually advances RNG, and so in normal runs you wouldn't save, but if you save, like as in a marathon or whatever, you would advance RNG, so you wouldn't be able to do extended unless you routed extended with saving, which seems a bit much. Okay, so there's a lot of dialogue here. Two team plasma fights here. They're very, very simple. First one's against like Patrat, and the second one is a Purloin, so very easy fights. The Purloin actually knows Sand Attack, so it can troll you a bit, but it can't do anything against you, so it can just lose time, and that's about it. And so here, he'll probably go for Bite. Yeah, he'll go for Bite here. It's partly because he can flinch, and flinching is good, but it's also, actually, it might not be faster in Japanese. In English, it's 1 frame faster to use Bite than over tackle. But I don't know what the names are in the Japanese version, so it might just be for the flinch. So there's just a cutscene here. Fennel's gonna come and just investigate this. It's a lot of mashing when you actually do runs. It's not really.
技を選択していきます。
Just adds a lot of time to the run. Like Black and White 1 especially has a lot of mashing.
そこでね、ムンナのね、シャーナのムシャーナというポケモン。
And so if you do end up running this game, there's
やめてあげてよ、過ぎちゃった。
just be wary of that. So the next fight is actually a double battle, and so Snivy will be used for it. I believe he's doing the normal strats, and so he'll actually want to kill Snivy, so use tackle on Snivy during the double battle. And so despite that actually being slower, it's like because double battle turns are slow, and if you're able to kill one of the Purloins with Snivy in the double battle, then it ends up being faster. But you need to. The biggest reason why you'd want to do it is because you want to hit level 20 for the next gym leader's Watchog. If you are not level 20 for Watchog, Lenora's Watchog, you tackle will be a very unfavorable range to two-shot it, which makes a certain fight strat really bad. And so that's the main reason why we want to use. We want to kill Snivy just so that Lillipup gets more experience, and so it ends up hitting level 20 before the Watchog. So here he's gonna just get a bunch of Dream World stuff. It's not relevant at all. The only relevant thing is making sure not to press. If you have it extended, Fennel will ask you to like turn on this gear, which is just this wireless device in the game. And if you turn it on, you lose extended because it screws up RNG. So just the only thing to be worried about. Okay, so he's doing his shopping here. If you had extended, you would do this shopping in Nat Green City, and so you'd skip this this center altogether. But he doesn't, so he has to buy repels. So.
自分の手持ちの戦闘のポケモンのレベルより弱いポケモンが草の中から出てこなくなるというアイテム。
Okay, so this double battle, you'll notice that he ran in front of him. That's not because he has like Manip or anything. In fact, it would normally be faster to talk to them because you would avoid the exclamation point, but they don't actually. They still give you the exclamation point if you talk to them, so it's faster to just run in front of them. Yeah, so there he's gonna kill Snivy and then heal Lillipup on Snivy's turn, which is. Oh, did they? They actually okay. Actually no, that was a standard fight, so we just got double scratch from the Purloins. I'm curious if he's. I don't know if he bought a burn heal. Because the next fight he can also get burned on by Tepig. So if he didn't buy a burn heal, he'll probably save. I'm guessing he bought a burn heal though. So just like Sharon 2, Sharon 3 can also end your run. Thankfully, you don't give his Tepig in that fight as many turns, but he can still just burn you, and it sucks. Okay, so he is gonna save. So playing safely, I like it.
倒していく必要があるんで、自らの手で抹殺しました。タージャに経験値入れるとレベルアップしてやって遅くなっちゃうんですよね。なので自分の手で倒しました。まああと倒しておく必要があるんでこの後。
And so I forgot to mention it, but he just taught takedown, which is a very powerful move. So the problem with takedown is it's 85% accurate, and so despite being 90 base power plus stab, so like 130 base power in total, if you miss on some fights, you just die. And so there he went for workup and takedown. He hit thankfully, so didn't have to worry about that at all. But takedown at this stage, it just does so much. It's such a good move, except it can miss. But it's just doing so much more than any other move he has, so he has to rely on it a lot.
強い相手にどんどん打っていきたいんですけど、免疫率 85%、さらに、与えたダメージの3
Okay, so I'm guessing he's gonna go for Woobat early so he can go for tackle. And so I don't know what he'll do, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna do that. So he'll go into this cave here and look for a Woobat, as I mentioned earlier, just for fly.
この洞窟の中に逃げたっぽいので、それを追っかけます。あら、なんか出ちゃった。
I think he was actually just gonna enter the battle. Ragnarola. So I mentioned earlier as well, it's a 50% encounter, and so there's a chance you just don't get it. It can be a pain. That's why extended is nice. But I guess he'll just go for it after this battle. And so this is a single battle, and then it'll be a double battle with Sharon. So this first battle is against just one Patrat, and the next one's against two Patrats with Sharon in a double battle. So it's still just very, very easy Pokemon to kill, but different. Yeah, so Woobat and Ragnarola are both, like, they're just 50-50, so yeah. Depending on your seed, you might have, like, clusters of Woobat or clusters of Ragnarolas as well, so it's not like completely random, but it depends on your seed. Okay, so he'll evolve into Herdier here, which is a very good Pokemon. And at this point, you don't have pickup, and so if you initially had Vital Spirit, you would start seeing the Intimidate text in every single battle. So it's a good thing he had pickup. Okay, so this fight is usually good. There's a chance you get trolled. Like, okay, so these Patrats know Bide, Crunch, Leer, and Detect, I think? They might not know Leer, but they can really troll you at times. Because if they decide to go, like, for Protect and you... like Tepig goes for Ember and you go for Tackle, then there's a chance that turn just is completely useless. It usually doesn't happen. They usually attack, but it's just something to keep in mind. They can just sometimes very rarely just troll you. There's also a chance that Tepig doesn't attack. It's pretty low, but like, ideally you just want a Tepig to attack and the Patrats not to go for Detect, and that usually happens. So okay, yeah, so he's gonna go for Woobat here. So again, 50%. Unlucky.
あと50%の確率でコロモリっていうね、ポケモンが出てくるんで、そいつが欲しいんですよ。だからちょっとうろうろします。来ないかな。おい。
Oh my goodness.
君はお呼びじゃない。
It's quite unlucky.
50%とは。
There we go. Okay. About time. So I'm guessing he'll just he'll just throw the Dusk Ball. So this is 93% to get in ish. So very favorable. Yep, and he got it. Nice. Hope he doesn't get any more encounters. Oh, he's naming it something. Alright, cool. Alright, so just another cutscene here, and then he'll repel. Just so that he doesn't get any more encounters. He's also going to pick up a rare candy coming up. It's a hidden rare candy. Shoutouts to Pulse Effects for... I think he told me he, like, somehow randomly found it, because we used to not pick this up. But it was just found, because the dowsing machine doesn't actually pick up this candy. And so it wasn't listed on Bulbapedia for a very long time. So it's quite interesting that it was found. It's interesting that the dowsing machine just doesn't pick it up. But yeah, so now that rare candy will be used later on in the run. It's quite useful. Okay, so this is an NPC. But she's also a trainer, so she walks like an NPC, but she'll fight you. So there's a chance she just hits you, but if you like wait for her down there, you can just wait for her to move up and then pass. But usually runners, if they don't have extended, just YOLO her because the chance of her hitting you is very low. It can still happen, but it's pretty uncommon. Yeah, as far as I know, she's definitely the only trainer in the run that has that property that like moves like an NPC but can fight you. But I'm sure there are some other trainers like that. We just don't need to fight them or don't need to avoid them rather. Uh, I guess I'll mention spinners after Lenora because the first spinner is like shortly after. Okay, saving for N2, smart. Okay, so this fight here is again, it kind of just shows that takedown's not the greatest move. So the strat is to N2 here. He has a Pidove, a Timber, and a Time Pull. You can kill Pidove with takedown, and you can kill Time Pull with takedown, but you cannot kill Timber. So the strat, what most people do is they kill the Pidove with takedown, hopefully hit, and then use work up once on Timber and then takedown. And so Timber knows. Oh, is it gonna? Okay, yeah, he goes for takedown here. Good. And so Timber knows low kick, which if it crits, it can kill at this HP. It normally only does like 20 or 24 low. Okay, and he can also there. He went for focus energy, but he missed there. Just please hit. Okay, he's good. And so because you went for work up on Timber, you don't have to go for takedown on the time pull, and so you can just tackle this. And so from here, he's guaranteed to win. But the fight can be scary, especially since if you miss takedown and then get like low kick crit, which is a higher chance because if Timber went for focus energy, it can be like just a death. Alright, so this guy's just gonna give a museum tour and then enter the gym. This gym is an interesting puzzle. It's a lot of reading. Black and white are interesting games. The gym itself is pretty easy. You have to rely on takedown a fair bit, but the only real bad fight is, I would say, the gym leader. Just because if you miss takedown or if you get like crit on that fight, you could just die. But the only 3 fights in the gym are pretty good. Okay, so this pad track coming up is a 10 and 16 range, and you have to hit a takedown. So it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest fight. It also knows detect and sand attack, so you'll find that it's a kind of a common trend in this game. A lot of Pokemon, just like there's like no real bad fights after Elisa, I would say, or I guess Berg, but there's so many fights that can just lose you so much time. Okay, so you decided to double tackle, so I agree with that. I'm pretty sure that's guaranteed, and you don't have to worry about like missing takedown or whatever. You do risk a sand attack, but it's probably better in a marathon. But like even though Lollipop just has such a solid late game, there are just so many things that can lose you a bunch of time. Like they're like, I think on the Iris split alone, there's like 7 Liapards, and they all know Fake Out, and so that can just cost you 7 turns. Worst case. Or like in Bryson's gym, the Ice gym, there are Cubchews that know Endure, and unless your HP is like really low, there's a chance that they just go for Endure and just troll you, and they can go for like Endure twice or even 3 times in a row. It's like you won't ever die to them, but they can just lose so much time. But yeah, everything, like once you get Stellan, you're not really concerned about dying until like the Elite Four. It's just like the main thing is like, please be nice RNG, please don't go for a Fake Out, please don't go for Endure, etc. Don't detect, stuff like that. And a lot of that is because you get the lucky egg, and so you just end up being so over leveled that things just do no damage to you.
で、ちょっとまずいんで、回復させますね。一旦傷薬でいいや。まあ後でまた全開する必要があるんでね。で、最後、こいつを戦って、最後、ジムリーダーのとこ行けます。でちょっといろいろ解説してなかったことをお話しするんですけれども。
Sorry about that. Okay.
最初、5月までポカブを使ったスタートが。
Okay, so this is the last fight before Lenora. The strat here is just to work up and then tackle spam. You just kill it.
ポケモンのゲームって。
Oh, is there no game sound?
基本的にはもうこれを使った方が早いっていうのがあって、それ以外の
I thought they would have different feeds.
ポケモンを使って、
Okay.
全部ストーリークリアしていくっていうレギュレーションがあるんですね。
Okay, so the strat for Lenora, I don't know what strat he's doing. There's two main strats that people do. One of them is to set up on Herdier. So she leads with a Herdier and has a Watchhog. Her Herdier knows it has Intimidate, and you want no Pokemon to be alive. Okay, so he's doing the better strat. So I'm guessing he's going to equip a Chesto Berry here. I'll try to explain the strat in a second. Let me just make sure. Oh, he's not. Okay, he might have already equipped it. I'm not sure. But the way the strat works is you want to kill your you want to make it so only one Pokemon in your party is alive before you enter the forest, which is the next area. The reason you want that is because you would avoid a normally mandatory double battle, but the double battle, the trainers won't actually fight you if you have a single Pokemon, and so the goal would be to enter that fight, enter the forest, or exit this fight, however you want to say it, with only a single Pokemon alive, being Herdier. I see. That makes sense. Ed. Okay, so in order what this strat basically does is it lets you avoid the Intimidate from Lenora's Herdier while also setting up a guard spec and killing Wubatsu. It's a really cool strat because you just get so many things done. And so what he's gonna do here is he wants Wubat to die, but he doesn't actually waste the turn. He'll use a guard spec here to prevent Leer from Herdier. And so he'll send out his own Herdier now, and because he's not at -1, and because he can't get Leer, the fight is a lot better. So he'll he's doing this strat. So he'll go for an X speed here. That was Leer, which is good. Work up. I'm guessing he'll go to +2. Okay, yeah, +2. Is he gonna plus? Okay, he'll just take down here. Okay, so he just needs to hit this takedown here on Watchog, and he'll be able to win. He still lives a retaliate even if he misses, and so it should be a win. Wait, he's at +2, I think. Oh yeah, okay, +2, so this will kill. So there you go. And you'll notice that he hit level 20 just before Watchog came in, and so if he wasn't level 20, that would be a range as well. I think it's... I don't know what the range would be, but I know it would be a range, and it would be bad. And so I was able to avoid that. I'm curious what he's going to do here with audio lag. So in this game, in just Generation 5, when you transition audio tracks, when like the game tries to load a different audio track after the current one is playing, it lags a lot. Okay, so you'll notice like the black screen here is longer than normal. And that's just because it has like, it's trying to load the gym leader, like the gym theme, as the other music was playing. And so when there are two different tracks trying to be like overwritten, like when the new track's trying to be loaded, the game will often lag a lot. And so there's some like audio lag reduction strats that you can go for later in the run that save time. I guess the one everyone knows about is the one after Drift Fail, the one before Drift Fail, and I'll point that out when he does that because that one saves a lot of time. But it's just like small optimizations like this that runners look out for.
生きてるポケモンが1匹しかいないんですけども、そうするとこの後ちょっと進んでいくときに 役に立ちます。なんか瀕死の子とか役に立つってちょっと暗黒ですけど、RTA 的にね、間引いていく必要があるの。
So just more cutscenes here.
さっき左側から現れたのは次の
Get the dowsing machine, which is completely useless.
ダウジングマシンもらいますけど、まあ、使いません。
So I think he's gonna get the ether here. This ether is not mandatory. You don't need to grab it. But it's a good safety strat because it lets you use more retaliates. Which is the TM. Lenora gives you a TM for retaliate, which is a 70 base power normal type move. So you get stab off of it. So which would mean it's 105 base power. It also has a secondary effect that if your Pokemon dies and you switch into a Pokemon that knows Retaliate, it'll be double damage on the first turn. Like you'll use Retaliate, that'll be double damage, but it's not actually. That part isn't useful at all. Okay, so the twins on the top right there, that is the fight that you want to kill your Pokemon to avoid. Because if you have at least 2 Pokemon in your party that are alive, those twins will fight you and they'll be slow. So that's why we wanted to kill Woobat. Okay, so this forest is just horrible. You have to rely on takedown a lot. Because these Sandiles, normally they would die to tackle, but they have Intimidate, which means that you have to use takedown, which means that you can miss. And they also know Torment, I think Taunt and Sand Attack. In the Assurance, they might not know Taunt, but the moves they have are just horrible. Okay, so after this fight's easy. You just use Tackle. Purloin dies, can't do anything else. But after this fight, there's a Spinner. I'm curious what he'll do. Spinners in Generation 4 and 5, they work the exact same. And what people used to do for spinners, they would just wait for them to spin and then walk and try to get past them. But that's not actually guaranteed unless you have Manip. And so I'm guessing he's going to do this. I wouldn't say this is a manipulation. I would say this is kind of like a setup. And so what he'll do likely is wait for the spinner to spin or run, do some sort of run to make them face him. Wait for them to spin and then do a menu. Like stay one tile away and then walk. Oh, he's just gonna save, I think. So I'm guessing he's gonna do a run minip here then. Okay. It's an interesting save. Oh, he got unlucky. There you go. So that run manip is actually guaranteed if you enter his load line. Like if you load the spinner frame perfectly, which just means repelling a bit earlier, you can actually, that run minip can be 100%. But because the spinner was already loaded, it wasn't. There we go. Okay, so what he did there was he ran down to manipulate the spinner to face right, and then he passed him on the left. And so that it's called run manip. You would see it a lot more in Gen 3, but it's pretty cool. Because while the spinner is facing right, you just pass by walking. Okay, so here he seems to have missed takedown on the Pansage. So as you can see, this forest is just like this entire split is just horrible because you rely on takedowns so much, and there's so much that can go wrong as well. This next patch, in fact, is a 13 and 16 range to die with tackle, and it also knows to attack and sand attack, so it can also troll you. And so when I say 13 and 16, I just mean 13 out of 16 damage rolls will kill, so it's an 81% chance to die if you use tackle, not including crits. And he got the range, good. Okay, so that he had to do that specific movement because right before that log, if he went one more tile right, he would have hit an optional, and so you have to go up, right one, up, or else you hit a ranger. So just something to be careful of. Okay, so this fight here, you can just bite. They always die, but they can still detect in. You got detect. It's just got trolled. He got double detect. Oh my god. Triple detect too. Thankfully, the third one failed, but as you can see, this forest, this like entire split is so bad. Just so much variance. Okay, so this Sandile also has Intimidate, so you have to go for Takedown. Oh, he went for Retaliate there. That's a ranger. I've never seen that there. Interesting. Yeah, it's... Thankfully, turns in Generation 5 are very, very fast, and so like you would lose so much more time if this was on the Diamond, Pearl, or even Platinum engine, but it's still just really annoying time loss. And it's hard to compare against. Like at times, like if your PV got like a no detect or no fake out split, then you'll very often be losing time against it. It's just not fun. Okay, so more cutscenes. You'll get the Moonstone here. Useless item. Doesn't help at all. I think it only evolves Muna in Generation 5. There might be another Pokemon. I think it's only Muna. And yeah, so Muna's not useful at all. And money's like, you have so much money by the time you even get to like Nimbasa City that you don't really have to worry about it. Just selling anything ever. Alright, so this next bridge is, in my opinion, the best bridge in the game. The music's really nice, and it's just like a 1-minute cutscene, which is quite a bit, but I really like the music, so it's whatever. It's pretty as well.
CM で使われたシーンですね。ブラックホワイトの。ね、最初見たときはすごいなんかワクワクしましたね。カメラワークにめっちゃ遠く離れてまた近づいてくる。で、大都会ヒユンシティに到着です。まあ1時間ぐらいかな。1時間弱ぐらいかな。まあ悪くないペースかな。まあ、ちょっとロスはありましたけど、致命的なミスはしてないんで。
Alright. So the next gym is Bug type. Which, I mean, Bug types, you'd think that Nerdier would be okay against them, but it's really not. At least not the Bug types in Generation 5. They're quite bad. There's only 3 fights in the gym, but they're all really bad. And every single one of them either relies on hitting an 80% range or hitting takedown. At least the gym leader has the range, but you either have to like go for a tackle range, work up and try to hit takedown, and there's like a Venipede that knows protect, and another Venipede that knows protect and has poison point. And if you get poison, it's slow, so more things that can go wrong. Yeah, but first, more cutscenes. So for this tile specifically, you'll see that he enters the cutscene a little early here, and that actually saves time because you'll notice that he steals, like, he enters on the far left, but he ends up like entering this area on the middle. And so that just saves time because no matter where you enter this cutscene from, on the road above, you'll enter on that tile in the middle. So it's best to just enter it as soon as possible. And usually that doesn't happen, but I'm guessing it's just because there's like a cutscene here. Did he candy? I didn't see. I'm pretty sure he's gonna candy to level 23 here. If you don't candy to level 23, the Sandiles are both a 75% range with tackle. And if you miss, I think they know Sand Attack, but they usually go for Assurance or Torment, so it's not really that big of a deal. And there's only 2, so it's not that bad. So that NPC can control you. The one after can as well. Just lose that bit of time. So let's see if he can. I would imagine he did, but I'm not sure. Oh, he didn't. Okay. So those are ranges now, unless he goes for a tally. He's probably gonna go for a tally and then use the ether, I think. Oh, he's going for. Okay, he got both ranges. Surprising. Did he already use the candy then? He might use it later. I've never seen a route that doesn't use the candy. Here, he might be doing the. Yeah, I don't know. He might be doing the original route that candied after the second trainer in the gym, but I'm not entirely sure. So this this is another cutscene. It's like a minute of mashing. Nothing goes on. So if anyone has any questions about the gym, feel free to ask. Or just about the run. So this is a Yachi berry or Yaki berry. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it. It weakens any super effective ice type moves used. So if like you got hit by ice beam and it was super effective, it would just be neutral. But it is completely useless, and so it's just not used at all in the run. But you get it anyway. Okay, so this gym, the puzzle is just, it's like a bee's nest, I guess. And so you just want to hit all these switches. Some of the switches contain trainers, and so you don't want to hit all the switches, but hit the switches, open the gate, and avoid the trainers, basically. Okay, so this trainer here has a Swaddle and a Venipede. This Venipede specifically has Poison Point, which means that any contact move used against it has a 30% chance of giving you poison status. This Swaddle is also low range to kill with 2 tackles. I think he went for Bite takedown there actually, because that was really low. So takedown here, good. Died and didn't get poison points, so that's really good. That Venipede also knows Detect, so it can also troll you. So here, he's definitely gonna heal. I'm guessing he's gonna heal to full, and then yeah, he's definitely healing here. The next fight, it's not as bad as the first IMO, but you can still like miss takedown. I'm pretty sure what everyone does for this next fight actually is it uses we just take down twice. The Venipede always dies, assuming you hit, but the Swaddle is a 7 and 8. And so you have to hit the range. You have to hit the 87.5% range, and you have to hit takedown. So it's not fun. The Swaddles know different moves as well. They both know the same moves, but they can do a fair bit of damage depending on what move they choose. So they know Bug Bite, which is 60 base power stab, Razor Leaf, which is 55 base power stab, but it has a high crit ratio, and Tackle and String Shot. So Tackle's the best. String Shot's is pretty good, though Venipede would outspeed you, so it's usually best to just get Tackle. But let's see what happens. And so this switch right here contains a trainer, so you don't want to hit this switch, or else you'll fight an optional.
自分から近寄って先頭に移ります。でこれまっすぐ進んで、トレーナー近づいてくるのとタイム変わんないんですけれども、自分から近づいていった方がいいメリットが、あるので、それもちょっと先になったら説明していきます。今
Okay, good hit takedown. One more.
自分がいっぱい動く。
This is a range.
押し打つか。87.5%。
Yep, and he got the range. Very nice.
自分がいっぱい
So this gym is the hardest.
同タイムだった
And
ら
this fight coming up, he's
動いた方が
Buster is definitely gonna save for this one because if he dies, he'll
そうなるね。
have to go. He'll be sent back to Striaton City,
これで
which is a very long way away, and you would have to fight optionals.
になりました。
Because the way you get through Pinwheel Forest is to either
で、
you would need to fight trainers to get back to Skyroad Bridge to get back to this city. So he's definitely gonna save. Because if you die here, and you could very well die, you're just
強いのが多分このアーティだった。
completely screwed.
ここ
So the reason why this fight right now is so bad is because you need to set up on Whirlipede.
ここが
So Berg has 3 Pokemon: Whirlipede, Dwebble, and Leavanny.
自分のこの
Leavanny comes out last, Dwebble comes out second, and he leads with Whirlipede. Whirlipede can either go for Screech or Poison Tail. Sometimes it goes for Pursuit, and it also has Struggle Bug, but like the main 2 moves you'll see are Screech and Struggle Bug. And so you'll go for he's gonna use a Guard Spec here because if he gets Screech into Poison Tail, it's just horrible. And so you use the Guard Spec just so that Screech doesn't do anything. So the problem with Poison Tail now is it's Poison Tail is 10% to poison and has a high crit ratio. So if you get poisoned, you have to use like what often happens. He got a really good fight here. What often happens is you get poisoned, you heal the poison with an antidote, and you get like crit or like poisoned again or something, and it's just it can be so bad. So did he use? Okay, so he used Crunch here twice. I don't know this strat because that did not do a lot of damage. He's only at like +2. Generally, you don't want to set up on Dwebble as well because... Oh, that was Bite. Oh, I'm stupid. Okay. Okay, he went for Bite, so that makes sense. Okay, so he's gonna outspeed here. All he needs to do now is just hit takedown. And he'll win the fight. Oh, I don't know this strat. He's crunched twice. That's really interesting. Never seen this. Yeah, I think you missed Oracle seasons. But yeah, that was the hardest gym. From here on, it's like there's still fights that can kill you, and but you're past like the hardest part of the run. IMO. But the next gym is electric, which means static, which means a lot of potential time loss. So, not fun.
ほぼほぼ倒せます。ハミクラクは悪タイプの技で威力80ですね。
Thankfully, you only have to use one more takedown, and you'll be good. So he only has to hit one more takedown, and then at that point, once you get to Nabasa City, you'll be able to buy Return, which is a very good move for Stoutland. In fact, it does more than takedown, so won't have to use it anymore. And like as soon as you get Return, the route just becomes so consistent with fights. Even with like the static gym, you just lose time, but like you're not gonna die. You don't have to worry about missing. Unless you get like really unlucky. Okay, this is a really cool strat. So he's doing this menu here. He needs to heal anyway, but he's gonna repel here as well. Teach Retaliate. It's really late Retaliate. Not familiar with this route. So he's gonna repel. Yeah. And so this repel is very you have to do it on this tile here. You don't have. You can do it at any point that repels away the encounters in the sand. But if you do it on this tile specifically, you can actually set up a repel wearing off text box for the next spinner coming up, and so I think Sinstar originally came up with this idea, so it's a really cool idea, and so hopefully we'll see it in action soon. But it saves time, and it's also just a really cool pass on the spinner. Okay, so this fight here, the strat is just to go to +2 and then crunch. Herdier dies unless it doesn't take recoil from using takedown, and even then it's a 7 and 8. So it's a 7 and 8 range if it doesn't take recoil from takedown, which means it needs to miss takedown, and even then you're favored to kill it. So you use retaliate on this duot because crunch and tackle don't kill, and you don't want to miss. You don't have tackle, but you don't want to miss takedown, and you don't want to use crunch. And this Panseer also just dies to crunch. So as you can see at this point, Herdier is just killing most things, especially after workups. So even though he used 2 workups there, he was only actually at +1. Because Bianca's Herdier had Intimidate, so he went from -1 to 0 to +1 in attack stages. Alright, so the next fight, this game has a lot of rival fights, but this next fight here is Sharon Four. The way I remember this is you're on Route 4, and so Sharon Four. This fight, I would say this fight's a little bit worse than Bianca, the one before, but it's not too bad. So you use workup once on this Pidove, and this Pidove has Super Luck and Air Cutter. Air Cutter is a boosted crit ratio, and Super Luck doubles that, so it's 1 in 4 to crit with Air Cutter. But it can also just go for quick attack and stuff, so it's not too bad. And because you have Sand Rush here, you actually don't take sand damage. Sharon's Pokemon will take sand damage, but you won't, which saves time over the Tepig route, because normally with Tepig you would take damage. And so that's another cool thing about Lillipup. Can't get damaged by the sand. And so this Pig Knight, just go for Retaliate, it dies. Same with Liepard. This Liepard does not actually know Fake Out, which is rare, because every single Liepard from here on out will know Fake Out, and can lose a lot of time. Alright, so the next cool strat here, as I mentioned earlier, it's Spinner Pass. And so ideally here, he'll do the perfect movement from here to the spinner, and the repel will wear off right in front of the spinner. And if the spinner doesn't spin, it'll be a guaranteed pass, and so let's hope that happens. Okay, so he's doing this. Okay, that's fine too. So he's gonna wait for the spinner to spin. There, that's 100% because he didn't spin, and instead of opening the bag, which is slow, he waits for the repel to wear off. Like, he knows the repel will wear off on that tile, and so you're just using that text box to your advantage, which is a really cool strat. Yes, shoutouts to Sinstar for that. Okay, so this is the last fight coming up right here. You'll fight these Team Plasma Grunts. This is the last fight you have to rely on takedown, and it's just on the Watchog. You can also go for Retaliate on the Watchog, but it's not 100%, so we just go for takedown, hit, and you kill it. So hopefully that happens. And as I mentioned 5 minutes ago, after this, you'll go to the Pokemon Center, buy a return, and things will be a lot better. Hit. We got Detect there. Hit. Okay, he's good. So that Watchog can really troll you. It knows Hypnosis, Sand Attack, Crunch, and Detect. Just name a move pool that's worse than that. It's just so bad. Missing on it is... I hate it. I hate that Watchog's just especially. So bad. So he's gonna get the bike here. The bike is very fast in Generation 5.
太っ腹なんですよ。
It's the same speed as like the top speed you'd get in like Heart Gold, Steel Silver, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, or I think
超太っ腹です。
the Mach bike's top speed as well in Generation 3 Hoenn. But instead of like winding up and slowly getting faster, you just go.
番目のジムに
And so it makes some sections of movement very difficult
で
because
PP もな
you don't have that warm up speed that like you just have to like know what you're gonna do. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll maybe understand more what I mean because it's just so fast. And so instead of like being able to react, you just have to
巻き直し
trust yourself.
5ぐらい買って
And it makes moving a single tile on the bike
させる
very difficult when you're starting out,
巻き直しはまあ巻き
just because it's so fast.
意見ですね。
Okay, so here he's gonna deposit Herdier and also Snivy.
こうか
The reason why you want to deposit Snivy is just because it saves a little bit of time with movement later on in the run, and you also just don't need Snivy, so it's
あの
better to do so.
ポケモン
Okay, so here he's gonna teach return
効力
over takedown,
一旦預けて
not over crunch.
感じですね。突進さよなら。で、ツタージャはいらない
And then register the bike.
ボックスに預けてきました。あ、待って。
Oh, he he seems to have registered a few extra things.
切ってなかったか。
I think he.
おお、そうなってんのね。なるほど。
So you can actually register like parts of the bag, but it seems he accidentally
今、
registered more than what he needed. And so now just uses Y to use the bike. It's quite useful.
で、さっき買った恩愛っていう技を
Okay, so En's just gonna. This is the third N battle.
物理技なんですけど
I would. It's definitely the easiest N fight of them all. You just work up and then
指定されてるからない
you give Sandile one turn. He leads with Sandile. You give it one turn to attack, and then you just kill everything.
大切にしたかみたいな。そのポケモン
So it's definitely it's a really nice fight. Just return and then work up and then return spam.
が上がっていくんですけど、その数値が高ければ
And is gonna tell you about his
恩愛
his
技の威力が
dreams and his plans for the future
観覧車デートします。
on the Ferris wheel.
それを覚えさせました。最高威力が102なので結構強いんですよね。ただこの時点だとマックスのナツキ度っていうのがマックスじゃないんで、威力がちょっと不安定なんですよね。で、さっき、
And so N's last Pokemon here is actually a Sigilyph. Sigilyph. Sigilyph knows. It's like Sigilyph is a pretty fast Pokemon, so it outspeeds you, but usually you still outspeed it in the actual battle. And that's because it usually goes for a Whirlwind, which has negative priority. Because it doesn't really do much damage to you, so it decides, okay, I'm just gonna try to send out another one of your Pokemon by going for Whirlwind. But it usually just goes for that. But because Whirlwind has negative priority, you end up just going first, and you never actually see that. There is a chance he goes for Psybeam, but it's really rare. And so it looks like he got Embargo from Sandile as well, which is the best outcome. You can also go for Assurance, and you take a little bit of damage, but Embargo is better because you just don't get hit. Alright, so let's see what happens.
ここのシンボラーなんですけども、まあ、エスパワータイプのポケモンだから悪タイプの技を打って
Yep, so he just went for Whirlwind there because normally it would outspeed, and so you know it had to have gone for a Whirlwind.
素早さ早いんです。
And so that's why you actually want to heal Pidove. That's a big reason why. Because if Pidove is dead, it won't go for a Whirlwind because you only have one Pokemon alive, and so reviving Pidove actually saves time, even though it's more inputs in the PC.
飛ばしを使ってくるんですよ。飛ばしって後ろの
Alright, so here's get on the bike, fast bike, and time for the worst gym in the game.
絶対にではないか。
Even though I said that about the bug type gym.
優先度がマイナス
So this first fight is really bad.
絶対ではない
The strat for these fights is you don't actually like all these Emolgas here. You don't actually kill them
こっちが
with return, so you have to set up once with workup.
ここはね、
Unfortunately, Emolgas are quite fast, and so you don't actually outspeed them.
このエモンガってポケモン
Which means that you give them a turn to use Spark, and if Spark is 30% to paralyze you, and oh, he seems to have gotten turn 1 Spark para. That's quite unlucky.
静電気っていう触った
Okay, there we go. So
1%の確率で麻痺状態に
on top of that, if you weren't paralyzed, you'd have a 30% chance of getting paralyzed after using return. on either one of the Emolgas.
3秒
And so this fight especially is just it can be so troll. You just lose so much time to paralysis. Like getting out of this fight without being paralyzed is just such a good feeling. Because you lose so much time if you are paralyzed. So I guess I should explain the gym puzzle. This gym's kind of weird. It has like these roller coasters kind of things. What's weirder is those like the roller coaster, I don't know what you'd call them, like carts, I guess. They actually move while you have the menu open, but not while you have the bag open. And so if you if you had to menu after this trainer, you wouldn't actually lose as much time as you'd think because a lot of the time you still need to wait for the roller coaster anyway. And so the only time you'd lose is the time you spent in the bag. The time you have the menu open and the time you're closing the menu doesn't actually lose any time because you need to wait for the roller coasters anyway. And so it's kind of cool. Because you'll see here, now he's going to have to wait for the roller coaster anyway. And so if he had to heal after that fight, which is impossible, but if he did, then he wouldn't lose as much time as if he had to. Like if he didn't have to wait for these roller coasters, he wouldn't lose as much time. Basically, so it's just a cool little tidbit. And so these fights here, you can just return everything. Everything dies, and you outspeed everything as well, so it's pretty nice. The next trainer, though, has an Emolga. Only one Emolga, so it's not as bad as the first trainer, but you still have to work up and return and hope you don't get static. So again here, just wait. Nothing you can do about this.
もうジェットコースターめっちゃ90度にどんどん曲がっていくから痛そう。この後とかめっちゃ痛そう。すごい体振られるでしょうね。これが最後のジムトレーニングですね。Okay, so after this fight, I'm guessing he'll heal to full, but the next fight's Elisa, the gym leader. Elisa is not that bad. The strat is to go to +1, so use workup. X speed so that you outspeed the Emolgas and Zebstrika. Zebstrika being the big one because if you give Zebstrika a turn, it does a lot of damage. So if at some HPs you'd have to heal, and just pray that you don't get static. There's that 30%. This one's like if I had to choose an Emolga to get static off of, it would be this one because it's like this trainer only has one Pokemon, so you just heal it after, and you have to wait a bit anyway. So it's definitely not that bad. But yeah, the Elisa fight, you just X speed and hope you don't get static. If you don't get static, the fight is very nice because you just return. But if you do get static, then you have to. It's better to just fight through it. But that means you give you give Zebstrika a turn, and it does a lot of damage. But generally, the fight's pretty good. I would say the first trainers control you a lot more than Elisa. And so these Emolgas will generally just go for Volt Switch. They can go for Quick Attack if you're at very low HP, and so that's something to keep mind of because if you're at like 4 HP, even though you use the next speed, they'll use Quick Attack and kill. So that's like about the only thing. So yeah, as you can see here, uses it next speed. Volt Switch there just goes into her other Emolga. Only difference between these Emolgas, I believe, is just one of them's male, the other one's female. And so there he used workup, and now he's just going to spam return and hope for no static. Good. And this one here is important not to get static on. Because if you get static on this Emolga here, you'll have static, you'll be paralyzed for Zebstrika. Ah, that's unfortunate. 30%. Fight through. Okay, there we go. So a little close, but made it. He's 32 here?
Oh, this is a really old route. Okay, normally you're not stealth in for this
さらにハード
after here at all. That's
ます。
it's interesting.
ドゥンドゥンドゥンドゥン B は押したらちょっとめんどく
Okay,
さ
so
い。
normally you would get Stoutland after the next rival fight, so it's after the next fight.
ムー
But here you get it early, so I guess the next fight will
非常に
be
攻撃
he'll
力
probably be able to skip the X attack if I had to guess. He won't have to X attack now.
データサービス
He should still kill. That's interesting.
のポケモンです。基本的にポケモン
And so here's paralyzed, and so this is another example where you don't lose as much time as you think. So you have to heal the paralysis, and he'll probably have to. I'm guessing he'll super before the next fight, maybe potion. He'll probably super. But because you have to wait for the roller coaster, he doesn't end up losing that much time. Because again, you open the menu, and that time that time used to open the menu is you need to wait anyway, so he doesn't lose that much time. Oh, but okay, I guess he's just waiting, and he'll do it after.
めちゃくちゃ高い
Interesting.
必要はないんで、基本的にストーリーをそいつ一匹で攻略していくんで。
Wonder if he'll take like the contest
レベル
hall,
はね、こっちの方が高く
the musical hall PC. Maybe he'll do that. All right, so the more cutscenes here.
ジムクリアしたんで、最初
There's a little neat thing coming up. I don't know if this applies to Japanese versions, but in the English version, you'll meet this guy. He'll ask you to like dress up your Pokemon. It's like mandatory, so you have to do that. But you can also just like not dress up your Pokemon, but still go through the tutorial here for this Pokemon musical thing. And it's actually like a little bit faster, like 0.2 seconds faster to dress up your Pokemon if you do it really quickly. So I'm curious if they'll do that here.
ここはね、
Because it does save a little bit of time. I'm not sure about Japanese because there's like text differences.
近くなのでいい
He is going to do it.
リボン
That I think that was fast. I'm guessing you saved time there.
これも
It's like such a small time save, and it's not the easiest thing to do, but it is time save. Just because the guy will talk less if
これで終わりです。
you dress it up.
で、外に出ると、まあ、ベルのパパから、お前まだ旅に出るなって。まだ
All right, so just
子供なんだから、
more cutscenes.
そんなこと許さんみたいなこと言うんですけど、普通に考えて
Next fight is Sharon 5.
出ますよ
Pretty easy fight.
子供がさ
And then there's a double fight. The double fight has quite a bit of variance, and you do that double fight with Sharon,
それも
just like the fight in Wellspring
入っ
Cave.
てますけど、
And so there's like part of your team that you can't control
い
because
やいやいやいや
he leads with a Liepard.
新しいししかもな
And like again, you can't really die at all. It's just you can lose time if like Liepard dies to take down, or if like it does something stupid. It's mostly just Liepard dying, or if you take a lot of damage.
はい、西に向かっていきます。次のマス。これバッジ4つゲットしたんで、バッジ数的には半分ですね。RTA 的に言ったらまだちょっとあれなんですけど。で、ここでチェレンと戦います。で、ムーランドに進化しましたけど、麻痺状態なんですよ。まだ直してないです。
I don't actually know what he'll do here. Like I'm pretty sure he'll just attack, but I've never seen this route, so we'll see.
猫騙しって技は
It's like slightly different.
こっちをひるませる。
Okay, see, actually, that's smart. Okay, so he's healing paralysis in battle because you're very likely to get fake out from this
麻痺直しを
Liepard, so that's smart. I would not have thought to do that. Because you need to heal the paralysis anyway, but if you know you're going to get fake out, then it ends up being faster to just heal in battle turn 1.
と合わせてます。
That's what we do with the X attack at the moment. So normally we're like the current English route, or what most people do is you're herdier for this fight, which means that you still need to use an X attack or else you don't kill all of Sharon's Pokemon. And so what we do is we use an X attack and we don't use workup because we usually get fake out from Liepard, and so we just use that fake out turn to set up. But he used it to heal the paralysis. That's pretty smart.
まあこの HP だったらね、まあ大丈夫。
That fight's a lot better than with herdier.
で、今ね、まあ HP ちょっと低いですけれども、この後、
Alright, so cutscene here and then the double fight I was talking about.
このまま進んでいきます。
Afterwards, there'll be like around the 40-minute mark. I mentioned that
アデックス
audio lag and reducing audio lag is very important.
のヘアですね。
And so the biggest,
ここにいるかというと、
like the best example here is after this fight,
幼稚園児2人
you'll want to go on the bridge, And so normally you would want to get on the bike as fast as possible because the bike is fast and it's faster, much faster than running, twice as fast. But in this case specifically, you want to get on the bike after you get on the bridge, or else you'll get a bunch of audio lag. And so Buster will very likely just run to the bridge and then get on the bike because that's faster, just because of the audio lag. Okay, so this fight here, just kind of annoying, as I mentioned. A little bit of variance, especially if they go for takedown on Leopard. That is a good crit. That would not have died. Okay, he'll win this now. Good fight. That was a rain. Okay, the Herdier just went for workup, so it's fine. So that was one turn from a perfect fight, but still very solid. A lot could go wrong there, especially if like Herdier targets Leopard. And being full HP after this fight is also nice. I forgot to mention, but you got healed by Sharon before that fight, so all PP like problems, PP being power points, are non-existent. Okay, so bridge cutscene here, and then hopefully he'll run on the bridge to save a bit of time.
で、この上鶴さんが、このなんか橋にいる人に話しかけて、この跳ね橋をね、下ろしてくれます。これで、また西に進んでいくことができます。味方は、あそこはね、死んでしまうとロスになるんで、ダメなんですよね。
Oh, well, okay, he didn't.
この橋ちょっとしたトラップがあるので、
But
もう大丈夫かな。今なんか、
actually, that might be fine then. I didn't seem to get audio lag. Now maybe that's a Japanese thing, because you get a lot of audio lag if you do that on English. Maybe there are more differences than I thought.
影が現れるんですよね、ちっちゃい影が。そこの
Might have to look into that.
影を踏むと、アイテムが
That was very little lag.
エンカウントするんですよ。それを
Okay, so 2 spinners are coming up.
タイムロスですね、完全に。
They're in the cold storage, which is just this area you have to explore before you enter the gym. You can't enter the gym yet until you fight these grunts in the cold storage. So there are like these setups you can go for on these spinners that guarantee passes, but as long as if you just wait and do like what I mentioned earlier, just either step back or turn framing, then it'll be fine. I guess, okay, he's gonna save his game here. I'm guessing just so that if he messes up the setup or gets hit by them, he doesn't have to worry about it. I think one of the spinners here. Yeah, that was safe. One of the spinners here has 3 Pokemon, so hitting them is pretty slow. He's not on. He is on War Tab record pace, I would imagine, Slayer. And so there, okay, that's like a new optimization that I think I saw Dexy doing recently. So it's actually faster to try to use the bike than it is to open the menu and close it. It's so weird because like opening the menu in Gen 5 is just so slow that it's better to try to use the bike because you get like you can't use this item text box, which is essentially just a pause. So I don't actually do this because I don't like mashing those text boxes, but that is faster. It's interesting that he doesn't. Well, does what apply to DP? And so these fights here, completely free. The only little bit of variance is there's a Liepard you fight and it has fake out, and so if he uses that you just lose the turn, but everything else just dies. Bike instead of no, menus in Diamond and Pearl are very fast. Like opening the menu is almost instant. It's the one fast thing about DPP, DP Platinum. So I think this trainer has, this trainer I think has the Liepard. Yeah, okay, so this, you can get fake out here. If he does, just lose the turn, nothing else. And he doesn't, good.
もうこっからは敵討ち、噛み砕く、恩返し。それぞれもう、打つべき相手に各技を打っていくって感じですね。恩返しが一番強くて、その次に敵討ちです。その一番弱いの噛み砕くなんですけど、3つとも技の文字数は全部同じなんで、とりあえず恩返しが必要な相手には恩返し、それ以外はもうちょっと弱い技を打っていくって感じですね。例えばこのヤグクロンは防御弱いんで、噛み砕くで倒していく。ミスター、何してんの俺。ちょっと学習帳。プラズマ弾と戦うの非常に多いんで、この作品。結構ね、暇だと思うんですけど。確かにミヌヌアも同じ文字数ですね。敵討ち。敵討ち、恩返し、噛み砕く、全部5文字なんで。この辺は表示文字数とか気にしなくて済みます。で、ここでちょっと余談なんですけれども、ポケモンって日本語の、ソフトでやるのと英語でやるソフトってレギュレーションが分かれてるんですよ。メッセージの流れる速度が若干違うんで、日本語の、レギュレーション、英語のレギュレーションって分かれてるんですけど、で、序盤に体当たりと噛みつく、エオテリで使ったと思うんですけど、日本語版だと体当たりって5文字で、噛みつくだと噛みつく攻撃って出るんで、7文字分の文字数。だから、体当たりの方が早いんですよね、表示されるの。でも、英語版だとタックルが6文字、噛みつくはバイトなので4文字なんですよ。だから、英語版だと噛みつくの方が短いんですね、文字数が。で、僕、日本語版も英語版もRTA やってるんで、基本的には全部同じで進めていくんですけど、そこのね、切り替えがね、結構ね、こんがらがるときあります。あれこれ日本語版だからここ体当たりだな、みたいな。
So that item there he just grabbed is a PP up, which increases the amount of PP move has. So in the case of return, he'll use it on return, and it'll go from 20 PP to 24 permanently. And so you might like 20 to 24. That's only 4 extra return uses. So you might not think that makes much of a difference, but on the Iris split, so the 8th, I guess, Iris Drayden split, in the 8th gym, PP is quite tight, and so having those 4 extra returns actually makes a very big difference. It's very nice to have.
世界で2人だけですね、この悩みを抱えているのは。もう一人の人がそれに気づいているかどうかわかんないですけど。で、5番目のジム来ました。ここはなんかどんどん地下に進んでいくジムですね。エレベーターって言ってリフトに乗って進んでいきます。ここのジムは基本的には負けないですけど、なんか戦闘運がやばかったら負けます。
Right, so everything in this gym just dies to, at least all the trainers in this gym, they have like drillburs and palpitoads, but everything just dies to return. So, pretty easy gym. The layout of this gym is also kind of cool. You use these like elevator switches to go up and down. The clay. So I guess I'll start talking about the clay fight. The clay fight is, it's not hard. It's just you can get like kind of trolled. So the idea is so clay leads with a croc rock. You don't want to set up on croc rock because it knows, I think, torment, and it knows like I think sand attack too. It knows swagger. It knows swaggers. Swaggers would be really bad. And so thankfully you can just kill Crocorock with return always. And so then then he sends out a Palpitoad. Ideally you would actually want to return the Palpitoad as well, but it's only a 50% range to die to return, so you may as well just use that turn to set up, because you're going to need to set up anyway for Clay's Escadrille. But unfortunately, just AI in Gen 5 really likes to lower. They like to be faster than you, and so a lot of the time they'll prioritize trying to be faster by using a move that lowers your speed, or using a status move, or some way to lower your speed, or despite they'll try to do that even if it's not the strongest move. And you'll actually see this later on in the Elite Four on Marshall, and I'll bring that up again when we get there. But at the moment, you'll know Palpitoad is very favored to go for Bulldoze because it lowers your speed because it wants to be faster than you. Palpitoad's it's quite slow though, so it's actually still a speed tie even after you are at -1 speed. The entire reason why we want to go to +1 with workup is because we want to kill Escadrille, and Escadrille is a 2-hit KO after 1 workup, so we give it 1 turn, but it outspeeds, so usually 2. And so here, workup, Bulldoze, unfortunately, though it is pretty common, but he won the speed tie, which is good. So here we go, Escadrille, so return twice, you give it 2 turns now because it outspeeds you, because you got Bulldoze. And so we got, I think that was Slash. Okay, and I think Slash or Rock Slide. It knows Rock Slide, Slash, and Bulldoze, and Hone Claws. And so if it goes for Hone Claws and gets a crit Slash, you can sometimes kill. But that's very unlikely, because it usually just wants to attack you, especially if you've already taken damage. Okay, so the next gym's not for a while. It's the flying type gym, but at the moment now, he's gonna go to the Pokemon Center to buy Max Repels. The reason why you can't actually buy Max Repels until you beat Clay, and so ideally you'd want to buy Max Repels earlier. Just it'd be fast, you'd save a little bit of time with movement, but you can't, so you just have to buy them after. I'm guessing he'll probably buy Revives as well, just as a safety strat. Let's see though. And the next fight is Bianca 4, I think? Too many rival fights. I think it's 4. Pretty easy fight. The only I guess the only thing to really worry about is that Bianca's Musharna is a 7 and 8 range, and if you miss it, nothing really happens. You just lose 15 seconds. So hopefully he hits it. 87.5% to kill. Okay, so I think he won a Max Repel here, so just forgot to do that. Not a big deal. So after this fight, there are, I think it's, two spinners coming up, both back to back, and there are these manipulations you can do. The one's a manipulation. It's a very fast way to pass them, known as a run to bike, but I don't think he'll be doing it in this run. The main reason why Japanese world record is slower is not actually because of the text. It's actually because their end timing includes the credits, so they have to watch the entire credits and then they stop timing, whereas English stops timing before the credits. And so that's where most of the time loss is. There's also a different start time, but the main time loss is having to watch 3.5 minutes of credits. I have no idea. Bianca's left-handed. So this Musharna here, again, 7 and 8. Hopefully he hits it. And he does. Good. Good. So Bianca will give you Fly. You just want to teach Fly at some point before having to use it, which you have two more menus to do, and it doesn't really matter what menu you do it in. And so it's just something to do, something to keep in mind. So here he already repelled, so doesn't have to worry about doing that. Okay, so first spinner here. Okay, so he actually did do the run to bike. That's pretty cool. So the way that works is he ran up to the... Okay, unfortunately he hit this spinner. she only has one Pokemon, so it's not really that big of a deal. But the way that run to bike worked is he ran up to one tile before until the spinner could see you. So if he ran one more tile to the left, the spinner would have turned and seen him. But because he ran that far and he got on the bike, he was able to just completely go by that spinner. That wasn't. I don't actually think that was 100%. It was still very likely to work. But it's a really cool strat and it saves a lot of time because instead of having to wait for the spinner to spin twice, you just spin once. So that ranger there, he's not like a spinner or anything. He just walks around, but it's hard to see where he is, and so it's better to just usually just wait to make sure that he won't see you. His vision's only like one tile, but I have hit him before, and it sucks when he does. When you do hit him, because it's like completely your fault. Alright, so Clay here is gonna give you bulldoze. I don't think Stelton learns bulldoze. Even if he did, it wouldn't really be useful. So it's just TM. Did he grab the elixir? I think he did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he grabbed this elixir. So there's one more elixir he's gonna pick up. The movement here is quite tricky. In Chargestone Cave, there are these like rocks you have to push, and then there's like a walker that it's very easy for him to see you, and so this is definitely like an area that you'd want to practice a lot if you did runs. Alright, so here, Bianca cutscene. Professor Juniper will come here and just give you the lucky egg. The lucky egg is a very good item. It boosts, I think, the amount of experience you get. I think it's 50%. I'm pretty sure it's 50%. By 50%. So instead of you get 50% more experience from every single Pokemon you fight, which is very good. Okay, so this movement here is quite tricky. So here's gonna Max Repel, equip the Lucky Egg, and then Elixir. Teach Fly and then Elixir. To Woobat. Yeah, and then there you go. Uses Elixir. Oh yeah, and use the PP up now on return. Forgot he grabs this one. There you go. That's the walker I was talking about. It's very easy to hit if you aren't focused. And so that the movement after again pushing that rock is tight because you need to move one tile left, and if you move just one tile more to the left, you can either see you or you can like walk into his vision, and it's just like difficult movement. Especially since it's like you're not in fluid movement, you have to like time the. You have to like make sure you go left one tile and not two. It's a little tricky. So this movement too is a little hard because if you go one tile too far down, you'll hit that scientist there, and so pretty easy to hit her. Okay, so at this point, this point of the run is quite boring now. You could. I'll explain Plasma Skip in a second, but you have to fight 7 grunts here and then N. Like you just OHKO all the Pokemon here, everything dies. There's again a single Liepard and it does no. I think there's 2 actually. They know Fake Out though, and so you can lose like a little bit of time there, but that's literally it. No ranges, nothing. And because you have the Lucky Egg now, you're just getting so much experience. Like you're already over leveled, but you're just gonna be even more, cause more experience. But there is something that can happen that would save a lot of time. It's very rare, but this game, Generation 5, has these dust clouds. Like if you've watched like a Black and White 2 speedrun, or like if you played Generation 5 at all, you'll notice, like you'll remember, like that's how you get like Drillbur. You can also get like items. There's like these little like, I don't even know what you'd call them. Like these, it is what it sounds like. It's like a dust cloud that only appears in like caves. And so if you actually like landed on a dust cloud, that would be time lost because you'd either get an encounter or like an item. But another cool property about dust clouds is that they actually block a trainer's vision. And so if he happened to get a dust cloud in front of like that plasma grunt there, he would skip the otherwise mandatory fight, and that would save time. And so it's just something to keep in mind. It's very rare, but it has happened to me. and
早く消えろ
I think it happened to Swift as
うま
well.
く成功しなかった
Another Swiftulu, another runner of this game.
手打ち
And like if you did get it on like certain trainers, it could save up to like a minute, so it's
全部タッチ
really
操作
cool.
してる
Maybe not a minute, like 40 seconds.
もちろん十字カーソルでも
There's also like a theoretical
できるんですけども
manipulation you could do here, so you could like save your game and then manipulate a dust cloud for every other trainer here, and that would save over a minute and a half. But
基本的には
like as I said, dust clouds are really rare, so finding that kind of manip would be very difficult.
タッチペン
And since every DS has a different manipulation, like every DS has its own like RNG seeds it can hit,
自分の人差し指の
you'd have to do it for yourself only, and it's just like very difficult to find and kind of boring.
防御力低いんで噛み砕く
But it would save a lot of time if someone did it in a run.
でタッチペンのメリットは、まあその方がタッチしやすい人もいるけれども、個人的なデメリットはいちいちなんか持ったりなんだりしなきゃいけないからめんどくさいっていうのがありますね。対して指タッチは自分の指なんである程度思い通り動かすことができるかな。で、指タッチ
So I think this trainer has Watchog and
指タッチ
something else. I think the next trainer has a Liepard, which can fake out.
ケアをしなきゃいけないっていう
I think Watchog and Trubbish or Sandile?
キープしなきゃいけ
Don't
ない
remember.
それはデメリットではないか。
But yeah, like here, as long as you use the right moves,
できなくなる
everything will die.
場合だと。
A Sandile, okay.
だから爪はね、ある程度こうね、長さに気をつけながら私生活を送んなきゃいけないんですよ。爪のケア。私は両手の人差し指でタッチするんで、両手の人差し指の爪だけ他の爪よりちょっと長いんですよ。
Alright, so the fight after the next fight, the next like end fight is N4.
で、人に
N4 is an interesting fight. It's not hard or anything. It's just the strat you do is kind of cool. So he leads with a Bulldor that has Sturdy, and so you go for a Crunch turn 1 for two reasons. You can't OHKO it, like you can't kill it from full because it has Sturdy, but also because if it goes for Iron Defense turn 1, it's really bad because then you're doing a lot less damage, and so it's better to go for a Crunch turn 1 just to get a hit on it, and then set up. And so the reason why you have to set up is because N has a Pharaoh Seed, which has a lot of defense and is resisted to your return, and so you have to go to +2 in order to be able to kill it, so you work up twice at some point. Sometimes the strat is to only work up once on Bulldor, and then work up on his second Pokemon that comes in, which is a Joltik. And so sometimes it just varies on your HP or if you got Iron Defense, and so it's not like the fight's a little different every time, but it's still pretty straightforward. And so here he'll actually I guess I haven't really talked about this, but entering cutscenes from different tiles can sometimes like save time. So entering that cutscene here from the middle tile, the second row, saves time because you bike for the most amount of you bike less basically. You bike more, which saves time because you normally have to like bike less, and so you usually just want to enter the cutscene in line with the character. That was a poor explanation. Maybe I'll find a. It saves time, but not much. He got smacked down here and then crunch that'll. Oh, he went for Iron Defense there, so. Okay, so I think he's at +2 at this point. If he's not, he'll go for a workup on Joltik and just take an Electro Web. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so it just goes for crunch here, and now he's at +2, so Pharaoh Seed and Clink will both die. To return, because stab return is just so good. So this HP is actually quite good. So I guess the goal for the next split, I guess kind of this split, but more the next split, is to get your HP to a good amount. By good I mean low. ish. Basically, you get reversal, which, if you don't know, is a move that does more damage depending on how low your HP is. And so, like, if you're at between, I think it's 4% of your HP or less. It might be four. I think it's four. The reversal is 200 base power. The next is like 150 base power if you're a bit higher, and then 100, and then 80, and then 40, and then 20. And so you rely on reversal a lot because you fight a lot of grunts. Well, two reasons. You fight a lot of grunts, and so PP management is tight. So you want to make sure that you have enough PP to deal with Pokemon without having to like grab another elixir or take an extra heal, because it is really tight. But the second reason is because having low HP helps with the Cub Chews coming up. It doesn't help that much if you're like not really low, but it still helps. And so I mentioned it earlier, but it's in the next gym, but not this one. But the next gym has Cub Chews that can go for Endure. And so Endure just wastes time. But if you're low enough HP, the Cub Chews will never Endure. And so ideally you have like 9 HP going into the gym, which means you never get Endure, which makes it super consistent, and it lets you go for a faster gym leader fight. But that's pretty rare, and it's hard to get that amount of HP. But if you do, it's really nice. Okay, so that trainer there, he's a trainer. He doesn't see you though because he's a triple battle, and because you only have 2 Pokemon in your party, he won't fight you. And so that movement there is a little tricky. None of those trainers are like spinners or anything, but if you run a few tiles too far, then they can like see you. Okay, so this movement here is interesting. The Celestic Tower, more so. You need to go up here to talk to Skyla, the next gym leader, because you won't be able to go in her gym if you don't talk to her. And she's on like the top floor. But the trainers on the second and third floor are all optional, but they have this weird property where if you press the B button, they'll change the direction they're spinning, they're facing. And so like mashing B on the second and third floor would constantly change the directions that the trainers would face. It's really weird. But what that means is like ideally you would go through that floor without ever stopping, because remember you have to hold B to run. And so you'd have to like press B, release it, and then repress it very quickly in order to like not walk. It's a very small time save, and really you should just worry about not hitting the trainers, but you'll notice that like he's able to like make the trainers face different directions, and it's like not RNG manipulation or anything. He's just pressing. And there you go. So pretty cool. And then he'll do it twice more on this floor. Like Black Gen 5 has like all these weird quirks. Like you can like hold B, and bikers will bike faster. It's so weird. It makes no sense. It just is like that. Like the biking trainers rather. So here, ring the bell, and then because he taught fly, he doesn't have to teach it now, so he'll just fly back to Metropolitan City, and so it's faster. Save time. So this next gym it has a bit of variance, mostly from detect. In fact, it's completely from detect and 1 range. So first trainer has 2 tranquils. Both of them know detect, and both of them like to go for detect. And PP is like you actually have to worry about PP here, so it can be a problem if you get a bunch of detects. Usually it's not too bad though. The second trainer is fine, and the third trainer in this gym has a Unpheasant, which is it's a pretty bad Pokemon to deal with because not only does it know detect, but it's also a range, and so you have to worry about 2 things. It doesn't like do any damage to you really. It's just annoying because it can lose you a lot of time. But yeah. Oh, I guess his Lillipup is a female. So Buster has a female Lillipup, which means that he can get attract off of the second last trainer, like the last trainer being the gym leader. But the trainer before has a Swoobat that knows detect, and it'll only go for detect if you're a female, and so there's a chance you just get it. But pretty rare. So there he got detect, which is unlucky.
よね。
He got detect again. Oh my god.
君も無敵時間の回し物か
Lots of variance. Game just loves to throw these small time losses at you.
これ PP 大丈夫か ?PP 怪しいんでちょっと噛み砕くっていこうかな。遅延ですね。遅延ひどいですね。
So this fight's free. Don't have to worry about like detect or anything. Just has a ducklet and a Sigalith. I believe you can't return the Sigalith, but you just crunch it anyway, so it just dies. Ducklet dies to return. Alright, and the trainer after this is the one with the Unpheasant, so I believe it's a 13 and 16 range, so 81% to die. And it can go for detect, so it's not the greatest. Hopefully he gets it.
分かってらっしゃるのか RTA の妨害をしたいのかもちろんでしょう。飛んでこいつの話しかけるか。この剣のフォローもしてこなかった。81
Nice. So he didn't get detect and he got the range. So perfect fight. I think it also knows quick attack. I've never seen it go for it, but I'm pretty sure it knows it. So it can also just lose a little bit of time there, but that was a perfect fight. And so here he'll get reversal. Teach it over at retaliate because you don't need retaliate anymore. And so reversal, as I mentioned earlier, is mainly for PP, just so that you don't have to use a bunch of returns. But it can also save a turn on the Bryson fight, and I guess that's it. It's just useful for PP management, really. I'm probably and it can be used on Boldor. Probably forgetting about a few other things, but those are like the main uses. And so this is the Swoobat that can go for attract. Okay, this is a different experience route because he actually outsped the Swoobat. Maybe that's a speed tie at 42. I'm not actually sure. But it doesn't matter. He won the fight anyway. Alright, so Skyla is a very nice fight. It's completely free, I would say. You just need to go to +1, and then at that point you can just return or crunch everything on her team, and it just dies. So, very nice fight. You don't have to worry about like detect or anything either. I'm guessing he's gonna kill the Swoobat and set up on Pheasant. You can also just set up on her first Pokemon Swoobat, but it doesn't really matter which one you do. I think Swoobat's slightly faster if you get like Calm Mind, but it doesn't one tech box. So he's gonna set up on Swoobat here. Go for crunch. You can definitely just go for a return here, but because PP is so tight, even though it's slower to use crunch because there's a super effective text box, it's definitely better to do it just for the sake of not running out of moves. And so Unfezzik can sometimes go for quick attack there. It's super rare and usually just goes Razor Wind, and since you outspeed it, you don't have to worry about it. And so Swanna here just dies. Very nice fight. Very free. Alright, so next fight, Sharon 6. Still not the last Sharon fight. It's the last Sharon fight for a while though. This fight is pretty straightforward. The goal is just to go to +1, so use work up once. He leads with an Unpheasant, which knows Taunt and Detect, so control you more, and has a Liepard. This time, like Sharon Four, his Liepard did not have Fake Out, but this one does. So I think I've gotten Fake Out almost every time. It usually goes for it, and it's just annoying. But yeah, that's it. It's the fight. He also has a Pig Knight and a Semi-Sage, but those just die and they can't do anything to you. So you only have to worry about getting Fake Out and getting Detect.
に上げるっていうのをアイテムに頼るんですよね。
But first there'll be some
アイテ
movement.
ムを使うのと、ムーランドが今使ってる奮い立てるって、奮い立てるを使った方がエフェクト的に早いんですよ。まずそこで差がつくと。
And so here he's gonna go on the railings.
最初に
It's actually faster to go through the grass if you already have a rappel up. And so on the way to Celestic Tower, you'll notice that he did go in the grass to get to Celestic Tower because it's faster, but he had to repel anyway. But because you're gonna max repel later on in this thread, it's better to just take the railings and then max repel. And so here, do that.
ここゴールドスプレー使って、
Elixir 2, yeah.
で、演武王はズシーンってなるんですよ。
And then Sharon 6.
で、ムーランドはズシーンってなるほど重くないんで、トンってなるんですね。で、ズシーンってエフェクトが出ると、その分だけちょっと遅くなるんですよ。だから、1戦闘ごとにそこでも差つくし、能力を上げるのをアイテムにするか技にするかでも差がつく。そこでじりじりっと差がついてきて、結局はこのムーランドの今これトンって落ちたんですけど、これズシーンだとちょっとね、ロスが大きくなる。
Okay, it's good. No detect.
時間でしたけど、こっち奮い立てでしたね。
It's another perfect fight here. You wouldn't get fake out. Although it's really common, so we'll see what happens.
それを加味しても、ある程度演武王強いですけどね。
So here you can crunch this Semi-Sage, it still dies. And if you can, if you can crunch something late game around this area, it's better to do so, because return's better. As you can see, you have to fake out. Common. It's annoying. Okay, so this next fight here is Hiker Terrell. This fight is very interesting. Because the hiker has a Bulldor. And Bulldor again has 30, which means that you cannot kill it from full. But he also has a girder, and girder does not die to return. Like, it's a range to kill from full, and so generally you'll want to use work up at least once. And like your HP around this, like usually in the run, your HP is like around like half, sometimes a bit less, and so depending on your HP and depending on what Bulldor does, it's sometimes better to like stall a turn, just so that you can again get lower HP, so that you can sometimes get none or very few endures from the next gym. And so even though you're like wasting a turn here or stalling or whatever you'd want to call it, you'll end up saving time on the next couple fights. And so he's gonna lead with crunch here, because again this knows it knows iron defense, and so if you don't go for crunch turn 1, you can lose more time. And so he used work up here, so now he doesn't have to worry about this range. Normally this is it's a 7 and 8 because he leveled up, because he hit the spinner, I believe. He hit the spinner, so normally this would be a 7 and 16 range, so just a bit under 50% to die. But because he leveled up, it's very favorable, and that's at +0 if he used work up, so a guaranteed kill. Alright, so this is Twist Mountain. I mentioned very early in the run, all runners of this game use Winter, and this is why. About to see. You just skip most of the. I would say you just skip the entire mountain, because you're playing in the winter. Because normally you'd have to go through a couple rooms and fight 2 trainers, but I think 2, but now you just skip all of that and just go down the slopes on your bike.
今のように雪が積もって、本来はこの山のダンジョンってあっち行ったりこっち行ったりして結構トレーナーと戦ったりして進まなきゃいけないんだけど、雪積もってるからそれ全部ショートカットできるっていう。なので絶対にRTA上では冬にした方がいいです。バンジョーとカズイの大冒険のカッチコッチの森で冬がなんか全部行きやすくなってるみたいな感じですね、イメージ的には。あれだとなんかもう落ち葉の上に進めますね。 EW だとフィールの方がいい。
Okay. Yeah, Buster actually went through those moving trainers there. If you have perfect movement, you can make it through. So it's kind of cool. It saves a little bit of time just in movement. Spike less. But anyway, this is the ice gym. Again, all these Cubchus have endure, and if they go for it, you just lose time. And it's not like you can just use endure once. They can just continuously go for it. So there, it gets endure, so it's just time loss. Live on one, don't do it. Okay, there you go. So there's only one endure there on that fight. This trainer also has, I think, one more Cubchu and then also a Cryogonal.
まあ、ぶっちゃけバグっちゃバグを使うんですよ。でもそれは、なんかこの高度なテクニックとかを要しないバグなので、まあ、使っていいよっていう風になってます。あ、で、このクマシュンってポケモン、こらえるって技してきてます。
So the next trainer here only has a Cryogonal, so you don't have to worry about endure at all. I forgot to mention this, but this gym puzzle is quite interesting. The first two rooms are pretty standard, just like flip switches and go on these pads. But the last room, you can actually skip a otherwise mandatory trainer by clipping into a block, like one of the normally, like a rock, I guess. And so normally you'd have to fight a certain trainer to hit a switch and then get to the gym leader, but you can actually just clip through the rock because it doesn't have bounds, so you can just walk right through it and you skip a trainer. So I think that's pretty cool. And so you'll see it 3 fights from now, including this one, so pretty soon. And so here you go for crunch because you can go for crunch and because it's not super effective. So generally you would want to prioritize crunch over reversal over return. Because most things, like if you're using reversal, it's probably super effective, which just means one additional text box. So if you can go for crunch and it kills, it's almost always better to do so just because you avoid the super effective text box. So here, I think this trainer has one Cubchoo. I think, yeah, this is the last Cubchoo. So hopefully no endure. Good. Okay, that's a pretty good gym. I think he only got one endure from the first trainer. And so now these Vanillishes, you can either go for return or you can go for reversal. Reversals are obviously slower, but you do need to use a few of them, because if you just use return, you're going to run out of PP and you won't be able to kill things in Dragon Spiral Tower. So a lot of it is just like, optimizing what moves you want to use, such that you have just enough returns, because like it is faster to use return, but you can't always use it, basically. So it's a kind of a cool thing to think about during the run. But like, sometimes you would have to use return on these trainers. I think, yeah, so I think it's 55. If he was a little bit lower, he could actually go for reversal and it would be guaranteed. But because his HP is a little bit higher and because reversal's base power is dependent on what your HP is, he sometimes just can't go for a reversal, and so sometimes he'll just have to go for a return. And so he'll save those returns later by going for reversal on things that he would normally not do, that he would normally go for return on. So it's like optimizations like that. So right here, that was the rock click I was talking about there. Nothing special there. Like he's not pressing any buttons. He's just holding right, and because that block just doesn't have collisions enabled, he can just go right through it and skip that black belt. It's pretty cool. Okay, so Bryson is pretty free gym leader. If you have low enough HP, you can go for reversal, and not even need to set up, but he doesn't have that HP, so he'll just go for work up once, and then Vanillish will usually go for acid armor. It can also go for mirror shot, which can lower your accuracy. So technically, you could lose this fight. It's just very unlikely because it usually goes for frost breath if it does attack you. Like 99% of the time, it just goes for acid armor, but you can theoretically lose this fight. I guess you could just switch though. It's a very nice fight, and as soon as you use work up, it's free.
基本的にね、強い相手でも攻撃力上げて、もうワンパンで殴っていくっていうのは基本ですね。
All right, so more cutscenes here. So he's gonna have to max repel anyway. So then he's going to go into Dragon Spiral Tower now. In the first two floors of, I guess, the first two rooms of the next area, Dragon Spiral Tower, can give encounters. So you have to max repel at some point. Sometimes if you're at like very low HP, or like weird HP, it's worth going for worth using the max repel before Bryson, in like potioning or in burying. But usually it's better to just do it before. And because like there's very few tiles, not very few. There's not that many tiles that you actually have to like max repel for. Because as soon as you're out of the second room, you don't need the max repel. You can just do it very early. And that's pretty cool. And so here are more cutscenes, and then he'll max repel and go through. You might think that using a max repel would be faster for this cutscene here, because you would get to the cutscene faster, and usually that would be the case, because you'd be able to like go through the grass because you have a repel on. But it's not for this cutscene. It's really weird. Like some cutscenes in this game, just you'd think that what you're doing is faster, but it's not. Thanks for the raid, Speed Gaming 2. 状態以上何か一つを回復するっていうアイテムです。まあ、何でも直しと。Oh, I guess I never mentioned that. The girl and the boy, it doesn't matter. It's completely preference. For Generation 5 only. So they are the exact same speed. It's slower to choose the girl during the intro, but because you have to wait for the creating save data text box anyway, it ends up being the exact same speed, so it's completely preference. And as for the starter Pokemon, Snivy's just bad. It's better to use Stelland. So we deposit Snivy because we want two Pokemon in our party, and so it's better to just have your flyer, the Woobat or Pidove, in your party rather than Snivy as well as Stelland. And the reason why you want two Pokemon is just to avoid a triple battle. Like you could still have three Pokemon in your party and go around, but the movement's faster if you just have two. Yeah, unfortunately the starters are just slow. Tepig's not that bad. Like Tepig was used not that long ago, but Stellan's just better. Okay, so these fights here, there's like this split alone. It's like 20 minutes straight of plasma fights, and there's like nothing going on. There's like a few fake outs. See, he'll fight like trainers here, and then he'll fly to Nimbasa City, go south to Relic Castle. So he'll go back to the desert, and the flying, after flying, you'll have to pass two spinners, and so that's a little interesting. And the movement in Relic Castle is kind of cool, but for the most part, you're just sweeping. It's kind of boring to do, but there is some variants like fake out and such. Yeah, at the moment there's just these fights. But he still has to worry about like using the right moves. So, like if you just use return here, like as I mentioned, you'll run out of PP and you won't be able to kill some things. So it's not just spamming it. Oh yeah, Snivy is really good with its hidden ability. Snivy's hidden ability is contrary. So if you had like Leaf Storm, instead of losing two special attack stages after you used it, you would gain. So you do twice as much damage after the second Leaf Storm, and then like you would just gain like two special attack stages. So it'd be very good, but Unfortunately, you can't really get hidden ability Pokemon in this game.
起死回生の力マックスが200
At least not like you can get them
3
like
分の
with
1、
Dream World
18
stuff, but
分の1ぐらいでした。
most Pokemon have their normal abilities.
確か威力が。お、フェイクアウト。
So you got fake out there, just unlucky.
でレパルダスはね、
So as you can see there, like he went for reversal because he has to save the returns, not because it's fast, because it is slower to use.
あ、トイレといえば、ちょっとトイレしたくなってきたんですけど、トイレしたくなってるしたんだけれども、残念ながらこのゲーム一番最後のエンディングまで行かないとトイレする時間がないんですよね。ちょっとごめんなさい、トイレしたくなってきたんで、でも行けないんで、どなたか僕の代わりにトイレ行ってくれません？
Alright, so after this trainer, there's a little puzzle, and then there's a important item he's gonna grab. He's gonna grab a max elixir, which without this max elixir, I don't even know what we would do. I guess he'd probably just like take a center, like grab. I don't know, like PP would just be fucked if he didn't have this max elixir. So thankfully it's just like right there, and we can grab it. And so we use it in the repel menu before we enter Relic Castle. And so here's the puzzle, and then he'll grab the elixir. Very good item. Excellent.
辺はほぼ一本道なんでね、迷うことはないです。
Oops.
バリバリだ。バリヤードの鳴き声みたい。
Let that one split slip out.
TP Max っていうアイテムがあるので拾っておきます。これは自分のポケモンの
So there, you'll see he actually went down before entering the cutscene. That's again one of the. It's a very small time save, but it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's just like if you can enter a cutscene aligned with like on the right tile, basically. Like depending on what tile you enter the cutscene, can sometimes save time. And so there, he went 2 tiles down before entering, and so normally you would walk those 2 tiles, but because he ran it, saves time. And so even though this Krokorok has Intimidate, you still just destroy it. Even at -1, Stelton's just such a beast.
ここはなぜかね、4対1で対戦するんじゃなくて、一人一人戦ってしかも1匹とか2匹しか出してこないんで、実質1人のトレーナーがポケモン6匹出してくるのと一緒っていう。
But yeah, there's like nothing going on at the moment, so
時間稼ぎをしてくるだけですね。
if anyone wants to ask a few questions completely unrelated to this split, feel free.
じゃあ一列に並べる。はい、次の人みたいな。やってくれるだけですね。現在時刻もう6時半ですね。もう朝じゃないですか。でヤブクロンは防御力が低いから噛み砕くで倒せる。噛み砕くで倒せる。
Yeah, I do. I am I never introduced myself. I'm second place on the leaderboard. Minnow.
噛み砕くを打つって言った方がいいかな。でも今恩返しもないですね。あと起死回生しか残ってない。噛み砕くもゼロになったし。起死回生しか打てないんですけど。これで相手ゴーストタイプのポケモン出してきたら罪なんですよ。1時間ちょいぐらいかな。もうこの辺になってきたらミルホックはね、見切りをしてこないんで。
I guess I'll point out that This cutscene coming up varies and differs different length depending on the version. So Pokemon Black, I also didn't mention this, but Pokemon Black is a faster version. There are very few differences. It's mostly the end fight, which is the second last fight, and the Getsus fight that make a difference. Both of them, because you get Zekrom in Pokemon White, which is worse than getting Reshiram, and so you do the fight completely differently. So you just lose a little bit of time. Um, but this cutscene here is actually 0.2 seconds faster in Pokemon White because I timed it. But White's still slower though. Yeah. So the Lillipup route is it's pretty new. I think late April of this year. But it saves around a minute 30. Like we haven't timed it for completely, but we estimate it saves between a minute 30 and 2 minutes over Tepig. And a lot of that time save is just like on splits like this, because again, sending out Emboar is a lot slower because it has that shake animation. Because it's just such a heavy Pokemon, and since Stoutland doesn't get that, it just saves time every single fight against Emboar. And so it's just like even if Emboar got here on the same pace as Stoutland would just save so much more time because it's like a second and a half every fight. It definitely adds up with how many plasma grunts you fight. Okay, so again, here he's gonna fly to Nimbasa City and 2 spinners coming up. Like you can like none of the spinners are really dangerous, but hopefully he can get by them. Like if you concentrate and just focus, then all spinners are 100% in this run. Like in this game, you can just always pass them, but they're very easy to hit if you're not focused or if you mess up slightly. The Lillipup route is also a lot more consistent, so okay. Okay, there we go. So you got past both spinners. You'll notice that he got off the bike and ran in front of the spinner. That is so that he wants to guarantee the pass, and in order to guarantee the pass, he has to wait for this. Like the spinner has to be facing the direction he wants to go, and then he waits, and then he goes. Waits for the spinner to spin down or spin left, and goes. And so a good way of doing that is if you need to wait for the spinner, it's better to run so that they face the direction that you want to go, and then you get back on the bike and bike past them once they spin. And so that's just a small optimization, but it saves time over the run if you want to play the spinners safe. So fun fact, this desert here, like this desert resort area, has like 4 different movement paths that are basically all the same. And so like you'll see different runners do different movement paths, and like they're all mostly the same. It's just preference. But yeah, the Lillipup route is a lot more consistent late game. The Clay split is more consistent because Clay with Tepig is the worst fight. N3 is free, where it's kind of a problem with Tepig, or can be a problem. N2 is better. It's just more consistent route. With like, despite having to hit all the takedowns, the fights are better. Okay, so here, this is like a very small optimization, but it saves time. So there are these like sand pits that you have to go down to fight more grunts, because like the goal is just to go down the sand pits and reach Getsus. But oh, okay, he ran in, I think that was a mistake. He ran into the sand pit. That's slower. But if you run into this, so if you walk into the sand pit, like the sand pit being the middle of the quicksand, if you run into that tile, you'll save 4 frames. Because you need to go down that hole, and it's faster to walk to that spot. But if you run into that one tile, then you save 4 frames, because walking is 8 frames and running is 4. And the reason why you can't run before, like you can't run into it, because that he just did that and you lose time because you get like slowly sucked in. But if you run into that one tile, you'll save a bit of time. Like super small optimization. It doesn't like really matter, but I just thought I'd point it out. And so because he used the max elixir, PP is actually still tight. He still has to worry about what moves he uses, just because the Dragon Gym has so many trainers you fight. But he's able to just still use different moves now. I'm sure he would have. Yeah, you definitely have to PC if you didn't grab that. But yeah, okay. This is the only trainer that I think this is the only trainer in this area that you have to use return on, like because he has like Garbodor, and this thing does not die to any other of your moves. It actually has pretty good defense. Okay, so let's see if he does it here. So he should run into the last tile. As you can see there, right there. So he walked as far as he could and then ran the last tile. That just saves a little bit of time.
落ちる演出がなくなる分早いんですよね。あ、やった方がいい。ただ1マスだけは走れるんで、それをこの後ちょっと見にくいんですけど、ちょいテクニックですね。ここね、1マスだけ走る。
It's the same with this movement here. If that trainer that wasn't there, that would actually be slower running that last tile. But because the game's like programmed to make that trainer always see you, you just save a little bit more time there again by running.
先頭になるのが優先なんで落ちるより。だからここはね、1マスだけ走る。
Good. No fake out there is good. One more Liepard. And after this, there'll be a few more cutscenes and then the Dragon Gym, which is a very boring gym. Very long. If you've noticed already, it's a pretty common trend with this game. Lots of battle heavy sections with not much variance. So it's slower to get on the bike here, just because the lag and the delay in battles, like the delay in movement, if you get on the bike here, doesn't end up being worth it. Thought I'd point that out if anyone was curious. Because normally you want to get on the bike because it's fast, but here you don't need to because you barely go any tile, like run any tiles anyway, so it doesn't end up being faster.
この辺になってくるとね、それぐらいでも大丈夫、倒せる。ラストジャポニカ。この次、こいつでラスト。で、この左にある穴にも落ちます。ジャポニカ学習長。ジャポニカ学習長。ヌルワン強いですよ。
Alright, last Liepard. Hopefully he does not get fake out, unless he's doing the hyper potion strat, which I don't think he is. Yeah, okay, no fake out. Unlucky.
NPC のポケモンは基本的にランダムで技っていくんですけど、猫だまし、これも1マス走って歩いて。
So there, that was good. So he ran one tile down, and then ran the last tile into the pit, so saved the most amount of frames.
ジャポニックじゃんけん、ジャポニックホイみたいな。CM ってなんか、3パターンあって、なんかどっか見れば出す手が分かるみたいな都市伝説ありましたけど、それって本当なんですか？分かんないんですけど。当時は分かんなかった。で、下まで来るとゲイツスがいるんですけど、まあなぜかね、もうなんかここで捕まえちゃえばいいのになんで捕まえないんだろう。で、今度は、まあ、古代の城には何もなかったから、で、今度、ライブキャスターが鳴って、 荒木博士から、七宝シティの博物館に来て、すごいニュースがあるのみたいな感じで言われるんで、また空飛ぶを使って、七宝シティに
Fly to Nacrene City. He's gonna get the light stone, I guess, in Pokemon Black.
いるときにちょっと話したかったネタがあったんですけど、まあ、今話しますね。実は
More cutscenes.
ここのまあ行かないですけど、左に森あったじゃないですか。
I guess it's kind of important to say that you need to make sure to press yes here. With a lot of like yes no dialogues, if you press no, it just ends up being like frames slower. But if you say no to Elder, he'll keep asking you the same question until you say yes. So important to do that.
ヨテリよりは遅いんですけれども、それでも結構早いタイムが出せるんですよね。で、このブラックホワイトの、まあ、RTA In Japan に申請したときは、打撃を使ったチャートをやってなかったんで、
Alright, so coming up is the final Bianca fight. Bianca 5. Fight's pretty free. The strat is just to set up twice, so she leads with her Stoutland as always, or Herdier involved in the Stoutland. Still has Intimidate, so we go to +1, which means still using workup twice, because -1, 0, +1 after 2 workups. And so what you want to see here is the goal here is before we wanted like really low HP for reversal, but now we want to we don't want to take much damage at all, because there like the dragon, despite the dragon gym being very boring, there are things that can do a lot of damage to us. So the getting like work up here from this Stoutland is perfect. So the perfect fight here is you get work up twice from Stoutland and then you just sweep. But we'll see what happens. This Stoutland knows Retaliate and 2 other moves that it never goes for. So you don't want to see Retaliate, you want to see work up. She'll send out a Samurott next as well. It can sometimes go for Aqua Jet. It's very rare though. So there's work up. Does it again? Okay, got Retaliate. So he'll just heal here anyway, so it'll be fine. Samurott could go for Aqua Jet here. If it does, it's fine. It's just a little slower, but not that big of a deal. At this point, you just return everything on her team. Everything dies.
ただそれでも早いです。打撃のダメなところではないんですけども。
Again, so PP's tight. It's the same speed to use crunch as it is to use return, but the Simisear dies to crunch, so let's go for it because we can. Same with Musharna, we go for crunch. It's slower, but again, you need to save the returns. It's like barely slower. It's like a dozen frames in Generation 5. Whereas like in Generation 3, if you use like a super effective move, the super effective text itself loses like almost 2 seconds. It's a much bigger difference.
野生で出た段階でめっちゃ強いんで、こっちのポケモンをなので、安定はあんましないかな。捕まえさえすればめっちゃ強いんですけどね。はい、ここシリンダーブリッジっていうね、まあただ通り過ぎるだけの、フィールドなんですけど、これ下電車通ってるんですけど、これよく見ると、格子状に足場がなってますけど、この格子絶対広いですよね。絶対人間スポッてはまるやつ。めちゃくちゃ危ない。
Alright, so more cutscenes and we'll enter the gym, 8th gym. There's one trainer in the gym that can actually do damage to you. Well, that's not the right word. A lot of the gym trainers have Dreadagons, and even if you don't give Dreadagons a turn, like even if you kill them, a lot of them have rough skin, which just means that you'll take a little bit of damage after using a physical move against them. So you'll usually end up you'll always end up taking a fixed amount of damage. The one thing that you do give a turn is of the veterans Dradagon, because the most of the Dradagons you can just kill without setting up, but this one has like an impish nature, I think, or is it bold? It's a plus defense nature, and so it lives a return from full, and so you have to use work up once on it. And it knows Revenge, Night Slash, Dragon Claw, and something else. You want to see Night Slash. You do not want to see. So Night Slash is good. Dragon Claw is okay, and Revenge is the worst. It does the most damage. But like that's basically it. Like the gym itself is very free. It's just that one thing you need to think about. One fight. Depending on your HP as well, you can sometimes go for reversal on the second trainer because she has a dino. But it's just something to note. Usually you just go for return though. So I guess this is another version difference. This city is very different in Pokemon White. Like the music is different, the layout is slightly different, and the gym leader is different. So everything is different. But Iris in Pokemon White is actually a better fight. Like this entire split is just better in Pokemon White, not by much, but by a little bit. Because Iris has the same Pokemon as Drayden. Because in Pokemon Black you fight Drayden, but Drayden has the same Pokemon as I mentioned, but his Dradagon has rough skin, which, as I mentioned, you lose a little bit of time because you take damage, and also because it's just you always get that ability, right? And so you can't, like, if you're at lower HP, sometimes you'd have to heal, whereas in Pokemon White you wouldn't have to heal going into the fight. And so with Iris, her Dradagon has sheer force, so you don't even have to worry about that. Again, super minor thing, but it is a little bit faster in White, despite Black being faster overall.
で、会話が終わったらもう直行します、ジムに。ああ、行き過ぎ。よし。最後、ドラゴンタイプのジムですね。でここのジムのジムトレーナーはボタン連打してもメッセージ早く消えることはないんで、なぜか。だからここの連打はそんなに頑張んなくても大丈夫。このまま進んでいったらな、多分3時間半ギリギリですね。そもそもの設定時間ギリギリ。
The puzzle itself in this gym is, I guess it's a little confusing at first. You just jump on a lot of like switches and the dragons move, and like once you know it, it's pretty easy. It's just there's a lot of like cutscenes just for the animations, and so definitely adds to the length of the gym. There's one section where you have to like backtrack an entire, like you have to backtrack a bunch, and it's just really boring.
このジムは本当迷路みたいな感じで、なんかこのドラゴンの肘にジャンプしてんのって、このドラゴンの頭の向きと高さを操作して進んでいくっていうギミックですね。まあでも基本的に道なりです。まあ、迷うことはね、ほぼほぼないです。完全に道なりにってはいい。世界記録は3時間16分28秒です。3時間16分28秒。自分の自己ベストが3時間17分6秒なんで、まあ30秒ぐらい、40秒くらいか。そうですよね。YC。どうしようかな。もうこれ回復しとくか。
Okay, so he's gonna heal here. The next trainer has again, like the next trainer is the one you have to set up on, and so if he didn't heal, I think he would he would maybe be dead to Revenge, but again, more trainers have rough skin on their Dredagon, so it's better to heal here. Or else you risk maybe like a crit with Revenge and then you have to heal again anyway, so. Because he has to heal to high HP, it's better to just do it now. Safety. Oh, okay, this is not this the trainer after this. But this trainer just has, I believe, a fracture, I think. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
型破りはまあこの状況だったら関係ないんで、自分は日本語ルールだったら2位です。これがでこうジャンプして、ここはもう下に行くしかないんで下に行って。
So this trainer here, you have to go for a workup. Because, as I mentioned, you do not kill with return.
英語版のレギュレーションもそうです。自分の自己ベスト出したときは1位でしたけど、まあ抜かされてって感じで、他の作品もやったりしてるんで、自分基本的には DS 作品の RT しかやらないんですけど、まあでもあれか、ソードシールドはやったか。まあでも前に言ったように、その主力ポケモンを違うやつに変えてっていうレギュレーションが最近ハマってるんで、そういうのを多くやってます。このポケモン使ってみたら面白いんじゃないかみたいな。結構ね、だからこそその打撃やってみたり。で、今回のそのヨーテリー、このヨーテリーもそうですよ。その一環で始めましたからね。ヨーテリー使ってみたら強えんじゃねえかなと。ね、世界記録出してましたけど。まあでもね、こういうパターンはもうないと思うんで。さっきのクリムガンは、ステータス上げないとワンパンできなかったんですけど、こいつはギリギリ倒せます。そう、エンテイチャートやってみたり、シンとパルキアやってみたり、ね。ゴーリキーでクリアしてみたり、ね、いろいろやりました。変な人はバタフリーでレッド倒したりしてますからね。ここはもうどこにも進めないんで、一旦。
My bad, I had to answer a call. Okay.
ちなみに、このゲーム10周年
So here,
段階で
he likes like circle twice because you want the hand to go up, but if it's already facing up, it has to go down then up. So just lots of movement and cutscene, like more movement in cutscenes. Alright, so the second last trainer before the gym leader, so I'm getting there. And then after Drayden, it's, I would say the run's pretty interesting to watch because you've got Route 10 that has like spinner passes, and then there's a fight in Victory Road that can have a little bit of variance, and then there's the Elite Four, which is very exciting. And not free. You don't just spam return in the Elite Four. Okay. Alright, so one more trainer here. She just has 2 fractures. Just return both.
トイレしたいですけど、なんか我慢できないほどじゃないんで大丈夫です。乾燥できるぐらいまでは我慢できます。我慢するほどのものでもないから。
No, I'm saying he won't. Elite Four has a couple interesting fights. I won't spoil all of it, but it's certainly not free. The Stelin is very good though, so it's better than what Embor did against the Elite Four in the old route.
102のマックスの値ですね。なんか今、ディスコードでトイレまずいなら大丈夫ですよ、タイマー止めますよって来ましたけど、大丈夫です。全然余裕ですから。だいたい RPG のね、RT やってると、数時間かかるのは当たり前で、慣れてるんで。
Here we go.
走り切るまでは大丈夫です。本当にやばくなったらやめますんで大丈夫です。トイレに駆け込むんで。
So I haven't actually seen this part of Black because I play White, so the fight's a little different. The fight's slightly different, but I would imagine he still just goes for workup and then crunch. Can't see a reason he wouldn't. So Dragon Dance there. So Dragon Dance is good because you still outspeed after it goes for Dragon Dance, and so you can also go for Night Slash and Dragon Tail. I've never seen Dragon Tail, but apparently it has. And it can... Is that the one that has Night Slash? It usually just goes for Dragon Dance anyway, so it doesn't matter. And so you take damage only in Black because that Dradagon has Rough Skin, and White it has Sheer Force. Let's just go for a turn there and it dies. Okay. Next fight is the final Sharon fight, which is it's probably the easiest. So he leads with a Unpheasant. Give it one turn to do anything. So it usually just goes like Razor Wind. So that's fine. And then he still has a Liepard, but that Liepard does not have Fake Out. So as soon as you kill the Unpheasant, the fight is just guaranteed. And like Unpheasant, it is 1 in 4 to crit you. Because Super Luck and Scope Lens, because Sharon actually gives his Pokemon items, but it's still just very, very likely to win. And after you win the fight, you get max revives, 2 max revives, which are very helpful in the Elite Four, especially like for a marathon run. It's really nice that you get them, like especially the fact that they're max revives and not revives, because having that full HP heal can really, like if you die on like Caitlyn, for example, a normal revive would not do it. Like if you got like crit turn 1. So it's really nice that the game gives you that. So here you have to... This guy, you can talk to him and it would be faster too, but he still has like the exclamation point over his head if you talk to him before that. Like if you talk to him from the right. It doesn't actually matter. Okay, so... Spinner coming up. Couple, but the first one before the fight. Taking the sweet time. So after this fight, I would say it's probably like the most stressful movement, since it's like so late in the run. So you have to wait for a spinner. You have to pass a spinner. At least the optimal movement has this, but if you have to wait for a spinner, and there's like another spinner to the right, and if you move 2 tiles to the right, because you still have to wait for the spinner to go, and then you go. So the goal is to go 1 tile right and then 1 tile up. But if you go 2 tiles right, you can just hit the other spinner, and that guy is just like, it's very easy to just mess up that movement, especially if you're like on really good pace. And so it's definitely something like, I don't know if he'll do that movement, but if he does, it's very easy to mess up. Like, be very confident with your biking. So as you can see here, he's gonna have exactly enough returns. So it's like you might think that like not getting the PPF and like having 20 returns for like the last like 20 minutes would be enough, but like look at that, exactly enough returns. So it's very tight. Although he could have gone for reversal on that if he didn't.
大丈夫でしょう。当たってもまあ、紙くらいあるからな。演武王よりかはマシだな。
There you go, getting the max revives, very useful.
死んだポケモンを HP 全開で復活。
And he gets healed, so he gets all his returns back. It's very, very nice. Lines up just perfectly.
損はないというか絶対もらうんですけど。この後一人敵を系入ってチャンピオンロードに進んでいきます。
There we go. So he did the optimal movement there, and it's very easy to mess up. Good that he got it though. Against spinners in this game, if you wait for them to spin and you're on the bike and you just go and you react fast enough, you'll always get past them. And so you don't have to worry about like the female H trainer on the bottom like spinning back and seeing you. Like it's as long as you react fast enough and you wait for her to spin, then you'll always get past. Now he's going through the badge check. I feel like they kind of overdid it in Black and White. It's like it feels kind of like stretched. Like it feels like they're just trying to extend it so much. Like it's kind of cool, but like this room here, like it's just I don't know. Like I guess it's like electric-y, right? But like it feels a little overdone. IMO, but I guess it's cooler than like. It's definitely cooler than like in the previous gens where they're just like they just list your badges and you just go in the Pokemon League. But I like what Black and White 2 did. There's like an ice puzzle here. It's very simple though. Yeah. Alright. This next trainer here, I don't think he has. Yeah, even though he hit the spinner, I don't think he still won't hit level 58 for the trainer. So this Zeb Striker here, this trainer has two Pokemon, a Whimsicott and a Zebstrika. Zebstrika is a speed tie, and it knows like Spark, Shockwave, I think, and Wild Charge. I don't think it knows Shockwave. I think it knows Spark and Wild Charge. So Spark can paralyze. It's only 30%, and you still have to like lose the speed tie. So ideally, you just win. Don't have to worry about any of that. So 50%.
途中で敷地化を倒したから上がるかな。あ、上がっちゃったね。で、これレベルが上がんない状態でこのゼブライカと、対峙する場合だと素早さが一緒なんで。
Yeah, and he won it. Sick. He was 58 there actually, so looks like the extra experience from another trainer like just got him there. So that was not a speed tie because if you're level 58 for that Zebstrika, which you're usually not, it's a speed tie. It's a speed tie at level 57. That's speed at 58. Yeah, so it's tricky movement here. There is another spinner coming up. This one's kind of interesting because like I guess it's just easy to mess up. They're like spinner setups for the guy, but have to concentrate. I don't know what he does here. Does he just YOLO? He does. Oh, what the heck? I've never seen that setup. That's a really cool setup. Okay, and so here in this room here, you have to wait. You have to like waste a little bit of time for this black belt because if you do the movement perfectly, you'll actually lose time because you bonk on him. And so ideally, you waste like the minimum amount of time to get by him. It's just a little interesting there. Just got a dust cloud there. I've never seen that run to bike though. That's so interesting. That's so weird. Alright, there we go. So no more optional trainers. You can hit just Elite Four. That's all that's left. Elite Four is quite interesting in this run. I don't actually know what route he's doing for the Elite Four because there's a lot of variants. Because in Generation 5, you can like the order that you do the Elite Four is like, you can choose that. You can choose the order, so you could end up doing like Martial first. I guess the types are Ghost, Psychic, Dark, and Fighting. Okay, he's doing Chantel first. This is the Ghost type. This fight's pretty good. The only thing you really have to worry about is getting burned. There are two things that can burn you. Cophagrigus, which is what she leads with, and Chandelure, which has Flame Body.
多分 BW2 の RTA の時も同じ
Like, so you're very likely to get Will-O-Wisp here, which is whatever. You just heal it off and then kill everything. But if you get Flame Body on Chandelure, it can be really bad because you have to heal it, and depending on your HPs, you'll sometimes have to like full restore. You do have one full restore from Bianca. Bianca 5 gave you a full restore, but it's usually not good to use it this early.
まず奮い立てるで攻撃力
A lot of the time, you want to use it on Getsus.
鬼火を
So yeah, you get Will-O-Wisp there. Will-O-Wisp there, that's pretty common.
攻撃力半分
So now I'll just go for Psychic. Okay, so then just pray that he doesn't get
がもらった森の妖
Flame Body
怪
on
に立ちます
Chandelure, so 30% to get it.
接触技を打つとね、そっちの作戦もミイラになる
All trainers of Black and White would take a very long time.
特性が消えて
Actually, it wouldn't take that long. Black and White 2 would take a lot longer. It would be boring. Really boring.
この後出てくるシャンデラってポケモンが静電気のやけどバージョンですね
Because like in Black and White 2, you'd reach level 100 very early. 'Cause Lucky Egg.
なっちゃうんだけど
Okay, good. No flame
この
bodies.
場合また回復
Very
しない
good.
といけないんでちょっとめんどくさい
And so the reason why you can't like, you might think like, okay, I get flame body, but I still 2-hit KO this Jealous in here, and that is correct. But the problem is that it has cursed body, which if you don't know what cursed body does,
調整します
what is he?
水薬
Potion. Interesting strat. If you don't know what cursed body is, if there's a 30% chance that if you use a contact move against the Pokemon, your move will get disabled. And since Crunch is the only move you have to hit Ghost type moves, if it gets disabled, you have to switch.
あー何してんねん
I think he's trying to set up perfect HP for.
この HP だとまずいんで
He was trying to set up HP for Grimsley, I think.
158だと
Yeah, it could work as a category extension. All trainers. I'm not sure what he's trying to do. Okay.
このね
I guess he could just potion. I don't know why he's not just doing this after the battle though, but
しないといけない
maybe there's a reason.
この後ね起死回生でめちゃくちゃHP ギリギリにしたいんで
Okay, so from this age, I don't know what he's gonna do next.
急所
Let's see.
再生調整ですこれ人に
Okay, so he's doing Caitlyn.
行かないで別に
So the strat for Caitlyn, Caitlyn has psychic type Pokemon. She leads with a Reuniclus,
味方だと
and all you have to do is get one workup up, and then you can just return all of her Pokemon.
2人調整
The problem is that Reuniclus goes for Focus Blast, so
あ4
Focus Blast does a lot of damage. I don't know the exact rules. It's somewhere in my notes, but it does a lot. And so if you get crit, you're just dead. And okay, yes, save. Good idea.
で
But yeah, if you get crit, you have to max revive, and then you don't have Woo Bat alive. So it can be a little scary.
居合玉打ってくるんで
But it can also just miss Focus Blast, so it's not like it's not very likely to really crit.
118なんですよ
And like once you've got the workup up, you just win, sweep everything with return.
高乱数引いた場合死んじゃうんですけどここで HP をギリギリにします高乱数だと死ぬから
So I guess Focus Blast miss would probably be the best here.
まず
You got hit.
OK
That is very good HP. Okay,
ギリギリにして
so this HP is okay. He's gonna do Grimsley next now. So there's a strat you can go for on Grimsley. Grimsley is the Dark type Elite Four member. It's such a good strat. Basically, if you're low enough HP, you can just use Reversal on all of his Pokemon. And so normally you would guard Spec turn 1 to avoid Sand Attack because
50かな
he leads with a Scrafty and there's a chance that he goes for Sand Attack. And so you guard Spec just in case he does that, because if you do get Sand Attack, you're in a lot of trouble. So, but this HP, you're actually able to just lead with Reversal and kill everything on his team.
倒していけるんですよね
And you guess, well, you'd heal on the Liepard, but this is very good HP. So it's good that he got it. So he'll do Grimsley now, and then I guess he'll probably Hyper Potion on Grimsley's last Pokemon, which is a Liepard,
最初に
because he needs to heal anyway for
すごい耐久型の
he needs to heal anyway for Marshall, which is the Fighting type Elite Four member, the last one, the one on the right. And so healing on Liepard is usually the best option because it has Fake Out, and so if you get Fake Out, you just save time. Because because you have to heal again. You have to heal anyway.
それをもう一発で倒すためには、このギリギリの HP 調整が必要なんですよね。で、そう、鋼タイプの切り刻んっていうポケモンも使ってくるんで、それもワンパンするためには、
Here we go.
ギリギリの
So ordinarily, you would, again, guard spec turn 1 if you were like above 60-ish HP. And then guard spec turn 1 usually take a brick break. But if you do get sand attack, then you'd go for a workup and then sweep. But if you took brick break, then you'd be put into low enough HP that you can do this exact strat, except you save the turn, right? Because you don't have to go for the guard spec. You just sweep his entire team. So very cool. Like, this is something I really like about the route. It's like because reversal is such like an interesting move. A lot of strats change depending on what your HP is, which you could argue is the case for like other games with like Torrent and Blaze, but there's a lot of more like situational things because it's not like you're just in Blaze or you're not. It's more like it depends. It's like, are you below 4% HP? Are you below 20%? Stuff like that. So I think that's really interesting. So he's probably gonna go for a. Well, he's gonna go for this. Okay, that's interesting. So he didn't heal here, which means he's gonna heal outside of battle because he has to heal now before Marshall. Yeah. Alright, so Marshall's Marshall's definitely the worst Elite Four member. He leads with a throw, and throw is a very strong Pokemon. His throw especially has a plus defense nature, so even at +1 with stab return, which is like 150 base power, it's still like a very unfavorable range. It's like a 5 and 16 range or something. I think it's 5 and 16 at +1, so you have to go to +2 attack. What also sucks is that I mentioned this earlier, like an hour ago, but like the AI in Gen 5 really likes to be faster than you. Like if it can like go for a move that it always wants to be faster than you. So it'll go for Bulldoze here, but Bulldoze here is really bad because if you get your speed lowered, then Mian Xiao, I think his third Pokemon will outspeed you, and then it just kills you with jump kick because it does a bunch, and so you have to guard spec here turn 1. And you want to see Bulldoze. So unfortunately though, even though the AI likes to likes to lower your speed, it can also not. It can just go for something Storm Throw. And this throw has Storm Throw, and if it goes for it, thankfully, it didn't. It'll do like 120 damage. And so half of the time, not half of the time, but sometimes you'll get like Storm Throw and you'll have to heal, and then you'll get like Bulldoze. So it's just sometimes this fight can be really annoying because you still have to heal to a high enough HP to not die to Sock, because Sock dies to like any of your moves, right? Like to return, but it has Sturdy, and so you need to use another move before using return, because you can't kill it from full. And so he'll probably go for reversal here. I'll go for crunch, I guess. Yeah, that works too. And so this is Karate Chop. Okay, so now because he used crunch, Sturdy no longer applies, and so you can just go for return and kill. Yeah, I think this was a little delayed, so it's like it's very early in Japan right now. I went on like Buster's Twitter and he had like a picture of 3 Red Bulls trying to stay up. Okay, so there are only 2 fights left in the run. Like normally in like any other Pokemon game, you beat the Elite Four and then just all that's left is the champion, but Black and White are a little different. So you have to fight the final end fight, and you catch Reshiram and then do the final end fight, and then fight Getsus, and then the game's over. But that's not for a bit because there are a few cutscenes and stuff to catch Reshiram. And yeah. Thankfully the end fight's not too bad. There's a bit of variance, but for the most part it's a pretty good fight. considering it's the second last fight in the run.
異色の作品なんですよね。
Yeah, so crunch is like special in Generation 2 and 3 though. So it'll do more damage. Like Raikou will do more damage with crunch in Generation 3 than it will in Generation 4, which is kind of funny because Raikou has better special attack than attack.
なぜかポケモンリーグの後ろからこうなんか負荷がかかってますみたいになってたけど N の後ろが出てきたからなんか OBS が大丈夫か。
This music here is really good, by the way. It's like the only time you hear it, but really good.
N とかに当たればそのままね N 倒せてねゴールなんですけどうまいこと当たんなかったですね。もうなんかせり上がってきた城に今からこのねちょうどねはしごが出てきましたから侵入していきます。絶対もうボロボロ建築でしょ。この技術をさ生かして
Thank you for the raid,
起業すればいいのに。
Illis24.
ここねいいシーンですよね。チームリーダーたちが駆け寄ってきて、このおっさんたちを止めるっていう、止めてる様子は描写されてないですけど、俺たちに任せろみたいな。あと2戦で終わりです。もう3時間もやってますね。はい、失礼します。もう N の後ろの BGM。
Yeah, just end game stuff now. There's a few like Shadow Triad cutscenes here. Actually, the tile you enter these cutscenes matters. So Buster entered at the best possible tile because you'll end up walking less and the camera will scroll less. And so if the like it's the same amount of tiles, but the camera scrolls less, so you save like a little bit of time. Very small optimization. The same thing here. If you, I guess you always have to enter this cutscene at that point. So that doesn't work. But going up here is better because there's a cutscene here. And so again, camera's moving less, so faster. Just slightly.
このイベント発生させた方がちょろっと短縮になるっていうね。あともう一箇所。この後、これ頂上なんですけど、3マスあるうちの左側にから入ろうとすると、左側からゲージが現れて会話になると。
As again here, if you enter this cutscene on the left, Getsus will walk. Well, he won't walk as much, and it's a little bit faster to do so. It's just like very small optimizations like this that are done quite often, especially in Generation 5, because there are a lot of cutscenes.
さあ最後ねえ、めちゃくちゃこのね N の頑丈ですよね。こんなニョキニョキ入ってきたのに新品ですよね。新築。あ、なんかゼクロムが現れる。ゼクロムこれだ。どっから現れるんだろう。でも N のモンスターボールに出てるのかな。
Yeah, DV is like the DV and IV transfer doesn't work too well. When you transfer between generations, well, I guess 2 and 7 on 3DS.
おはよう。ママ寝坊してるの？大丈夫？見てる？娘来ました。
I think he wanted to intimidate. He just really wanted to intimidate the player. Unfortunately, Reshimam was not intimidated.
でもさ、パパさ、
Alright, so I guess I'll start talking about the end fight. So in Pokemon White, which is what I run because I don't have Black, the end fight's quite a bit worse in terms of risk, and it's a little bit slower as well. But this is not Pokemon White, so I'll talk about the Black strat, the Pokemon Black strat. So he's gonna lead with Reshiram. Well, he's gonna catch this. He actually has to catch this Reshiram. Like the game won't let you progress if you don't catch it. Like if you kill it, it'll be like, whatever, just please catch me. And then if you run away, it'll do the same. So you have to catch it. But you're given a Master Ball from Professor Juniper anyway. And even if you weren't, it's like its catch rate's like 45, so you could like throw it Ultra Ball. It's like 25%. It's not like it's a normal legendary catch rate. But so you lead with Reshiram. You don't really want to lead with Reshiram. Like using Reshiram is slower, but the game forces you to. So it is what it is. And so you're gonna lead with Dragon Breath. And so the main difference, like the biggest reason why Pokemon Black is better is because Reshiram has more special attack, which means it like both Zekrom and Reshiram both have Dragon Breath and they both want to use it, but because Reshiram has more special attack, you end up doing more damage, and that little boost more changes the fight completely. And so now, normally in Pokemon White, you don't actually kill Reshiram, like you attack it once and then switch to Stoutland. But in Pokemon Black, you kill the Reshiram. I guess kill the Zekrom and then set up. So it's quite a bit different. There's a chance he gets light screen here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. It's quite slow, but besides that, the fight's pretty good. You see Dragon Breath? Well, that's a really bad. That's not the greatest special attack. Hopefully this kills. Okay, that was a crit, I think. That's a really good crit. Alright. So Caracosta comes in here. You want to die to this? He goes for Stone Edge. Lived on 1. That's quite funny. But it has Aqua Jet, so you just die. And so from here, this Caracosta normally has Sturdy. And so normally in Pokemon White, you wouldn't kill it from, but you just set up on it now because it's already taking damage, and so Sturdy is irrelevant. So you just go to +2, and you want to take damage here as well, so that you can reversal. So in Pokemon Black, you're Pokemon White, you're like around half HP here, and then you have to hope you don't get crit by Caracosta. And so it's just one additional thing to worry about. He goes for return here because it's an illusion Pokemon. Normally you would go for reversal if that was the actual Klinklang. And so that's the real one. Thankfully N doesn't he doesn't change the order of his Pokemon, so it's always gonna be like Zoroark is always gonna come out before Klinklang. If not, then that would, I guess you could still reversal, but it wouldn't be as fun. You would have like a little bit more variance. But from here, just wins. Pretty easy fight. Alright, last fight in the run. Getsis. So Getsis is a mostly free fight. The Hydreigon's actually a 15 and 16 range, which means it's 93% to die to return at +1. So it can live, which is really devastating when it does, but Buster has like max revives, so if he misses the range, fine. And if he gets Focus Blast from Hydreigon, then it's also fine because he'll be able to use Reversal because his HP will be low enough. So this fight is pretty free. Like there's still variance because he gets his leads with a Cofagrigus, and it has Protect, it has Toxic, it has Shadow Ball, so it's not like it's like complete sweep, but it's, for the last fight in the game, I would say it's pretty good.
でもしかしたらね、ピコーンピコーンってなってる音にゲイツ音のかき消される可能性があるんで、そしたら申し訳ないです。バッフル音次第ですね。で、またレシラムが復活してるんで、このデスカーンはレシラムのクロスフレームに
Fusion Flare. Toxic. It's probably gonna go for Protect here.
無敵時間
Yeah, okay. It's pretty normal.
無敵時間がもう一回クロスフレームで倒して、ケイ。これは絶対クロスフレーム2発で倒せるんで、ステータス弱くても。
Now, this is, I guess, in Pokemon White, you set up on
変えて、
the Hydreigon, but in this game, you set up on this. Okay, so if he gets crit here, he'll die, but that's if he doesn't, he'll win. Don't crit. Alright, he wins. That's GG.
確実に急所じゃなければ耐える、ダメージなんで、これで
And so this Hydreigon, again, it is a 15 and 16 range with return, but because his HP is so low, he can go for a reversal. He'll always.
デスカーンをレシラムで倒すことに
So that's Pokemon.
ミイラになっちゃった。
Like at this point, you just choose the right moves and you'll just win.
レシラムで
Very nice fight.
倒したのが早くなります。で、途中で
It's Pokemon Black. I don't know if if he's gonna wait through the credits. I think he is.
まあ終わりました。
This is a really solid time for a marathon. Wow.
で倒す
This is like
と経験
very good.
これでもね、まだレッドゾーンだからね。さあ、ラスト。
But hopefully my commentary wasn't too bad. Went off on a few tangents, but I enjoy playing the game. It's a fun game to run
終わる。
at times, and yep.
ホワイトでした。はい。戦闘終了です。で、タイマーストップはエンディング終わった後、ジエンドの表示までなので、まあ、あとはここメッセージ流して終了ですね。
I guess I'll mention one more thing. So N asks you a question in Chargestone Caves like an hour and a half ago. He asked the player a question, and depending on that question, depending on what you answered, he'll say something differently here, and so it's like faster to say no in the moment, like in Chargestone Cave, but it's actually ends up being faster here to say yes because you save time on this split. So it's a little weird, but just thought I'd point that out.
これね、いうのがね、ポケモンの声が聞こえてうんぬんかんぬんみたいな感動のストーリーです。感動のラストです。
But yeah, I guess I just leave this now. I'll wait a bit of it, I guess. I don't know if he's gonna wait for the credits. I don't think he is, because I think they're behind.
最後はゼクロムと一緒に
Timing will probably end after this. Fade out.
ちなみに英語ルールだとエンディングに入った瞬間タイマーストップですね。これ。
Right.
それじゃあ、さよなら。ででどん。
Here.
はい、お疲れ様でした。操作終了です。
Maybe he's gonna keep going. I'm not sure now.
まあまあまあ。こんなもんですかね。大きな
But yeah, GG Buster.
時間内に収められる。
Thanks for having me. I do runs, by the way, if anyone wants to watch. Minnow SR. Currently running this game, so yeah.